Welcome. There we go. Formation lap is underway here at Silverstone. We are underway. Formation lap at Silverstone. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Let's run through your grid for today of the British Grand Prix. Everyone starting on the medium compound tyre. If you missed our strategy corner for earlier on, it is predicted to be a one-stop race today. Medium or hard. We thought maybe some might start on the soft compound tyre, but the medium and hard are going to go very long in this race. We hope that data is incorrect, and we do see a two-stop strategy, but time will tell. So Kimi Issues is your pole sitter for today. Charles Leclerc starts P2, out-qualifying Lewis Hamilton, but is there a change in setup there for Charles Leclerc and Lewis? We will see. George Russell starts P4, not been quick here this weekend, but I do think those front four are going to be in their own race today compared to the rest of the field, as Hadjar starts P5 with Lando Norris in P6. Max Verstappen struggling this weekend in that Red Bull in P7 with Hadjar in P8. Arvid Lindblad out-qualified Liam Lawson in his first race at his home race as he races under the British flag. Liam Lawson in P10. The Racing Bulls, they just need to get a decent getaway and they will be able to probably finish comfortably in the top 10. Gabriel Bortoletto starts 11th alongside his teammate in 12th. Ollie Behrman at his home race as well, getting more out of that Haas than I think it deserves in P13. Carlos Sainz in 14th. Gasly did get demoted. He had a post-qualifying penalty, three-place grid penalty for impeding, wait for this, impeding Lance Stroll. Yes, Pierre Gasly received a impeding penalty on, of all people, Lance Stroll, and he is demoted down to 15th from 12th. Alex Albon is in 16th. Esteban Ocon is in 17th. Bottas is 18th. Colapinto 19th as he lost control of that car yesterday, really due to no fault of his own. Big gust of wind through the rear of his car around through Baggett's and Beckett's. Sergio Perez in 20th. Alonso 21st, and Stroll is 22nd. So, there we go, ladies and gents. That is your starting grid for the British Grand Prix. 52 laps here at Silverstone, about to come your way. Thank you for tuning in, as always. Nearly 1,000 likes before the race is underway. Thank you. 10,000 of you here for the start. Great to see the returning numbers and the consistent numbers. Oh, Alonso's broken down before the race has even begun. Oh, dearie me, Fernando Alonso. I predicted the Aston Martins would not finish this race today. Well, it looks like one of them isn't even going to get to start. Oh, he's going again. He's going. Come on, Alonso, hurry up. Is the Aston Martin fast enough to be able to get to the starting grid before the lights are on? But Fernando Alonso there, what happened? Did he lose control of the car? Did he lose control? Did he just, stall? He just stalled. The car just cut out. Fernando Alonso's car literally just came to a standstill in the middle of Baggett's and Beckett's. But it has got going again. And, well, Alonso is starting from the pit lane here. So we are only getting 21 cars starting this race from their starting grid positions. So Stroll is in 22nd here. But here we go. Drivers are in their grid positions. Alonso makes his way to the end of the pit lane here. This pre-start procedure gets longer every single time that we start a race here. It is green light, though, and away we go here at the British Grand Prix. Who is leading into turn one? It seems like Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc have got a decent start here as they make their way into turn three, as Antonelli bogs down at the start of this race, and Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton launch past Kimi at the start here and lead into turn three as Leclerc leads ahead of Lewis Hamilton with Antonelli in third, with George Russell in fourth. Lindblad is up a place ahead of Lando Norris, but then quickly swaps position with him back as Verstappen. The Red Bulls finally get a decent start as Antonelli comes back and Lewis Hamilton down into Brooklands as Hamilton is his marker working okay there. This is exactly what happened yesterday, but Antonelli, where is he right now? Is there issues? As I think Hamilton might have some contact here. No, there is a yellow flag as Behrman has gone round. Alex Albon has gone round. There's contact there as they make their way into Brooklands for the first time, but Antonelli bogged down, and here we go. Charles Leclerc leads from Lewis Hamilton in P2, Antonelli P3 with George Russell 4th. Hadjar is 5th and Verstappen is 6th. Norris 7th. Lawson up 2 places into 8th as Piastri is down into 9th, as Sainz is up 3 places, Ocon is up 4 places, so they make their way through Maggis and Beckett's and exit Chapel for the first time here as they make their way down their hangar straight into turn 15. This is where the Mercedes was very strong yesterday with their deployment, and we can see them on the charge here as they make their way through Stowe Corner for the first time. Wow, what a start to this race. Already a bit of a moment there as George Russell's transponder is just lagging as they make their way through this corner, as unless George Russell has decided to come into the pit lane here, I'm not entirely sure what is happening with some of the data, but as they cross the line, it is Charles Leclerc ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Antonelli is 3rd with Russell 4th. Hadjar is 5th as Piastri is falling through the field here as Alex Albon is really struggling. What has happened to Oscar Piastri? As Piastri says, I have damage, as Oscar Piastri has damage and is down into 14th place. So Oscar Piastri, the man who felt he was undone with an unjust penalty last year under safety car conditions as well, his season has not started off very well and he is down into 19th place and falling through the field here. I don't know if he's got a puncture or not, but we head back to the front for this battle for the lead. Charles Leclerc ahead of Lewis Hamilton in P2 by half a second, with Kimi Antonelli right close behind as well. Only 1.2 seconds separating the front three here, with George Russell 1.5 seconds behind Antonelli already. Hadjar and Max Verstappen starting off this race very well. If that Red Bull can get off to a decent start off the line, unlike they did yesterday in the sprint race, well, it seems to be that they're pretty punchy at the start of this race, as George Russell is definitely not faring well here and losing a bit of time as a yellow flag. Is it yellow flag? Hulkenberg's going slow now. Hulkenberg slow through Brooklands as George Russell had to go defensive to Hadjar as they went into Brooklands. So yes, George Russell under considerable pressure from Isaac Hadjar behind, as he is 1.3 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli's teammate ahead. Remember, you need to be 1 second behind the car in front to get the opportunity to use overtake mode, and we've seen it be very effective here this weekend. But Charles Leclerc 7 tenths ahead of Lewis Hamilton with Antonelli in 3rd. 51 laps remaining here of this 52 lap race as they're about to finish the second lap of the British Grand Prix. George Russell closing a bit up on Antonelli there as they made their way through Stowe Corner into the last couple of corners there, as Hadjar is going to be having overtake mode available for sure. Verstappen will be wanting to get past his teammate. The first time he's been out-qualified by Hadjar this year. Lando Norris unable to staying slightly within touching distance there as Lawson is in P8. Piastri trudging around at the back in P21 as he's undoubtedly going to come into the pit lane now. I'm not sure what damage Piastri has received at the start of this race. Of course, lots of cars in such a short space of track as they make their way into turn 3. So undoubtedly he's picked up some damage there. I'll get to see a replay and we will find out. But Piastri, will it be able to continue or will it be a retirement? Alex Albon, he's got back out there after contact at the start of this race as well, as he was making his way down into Brooklyn. So he's now on the hard compound tyre, and teams will be looking at that hard compound tyre to see how the pace is on that tyre, as we are expecting the medium and the hards to be very similar in performance today. But Kimi Antonelli, fastest first sector. That is where the Mercedes has been very strong all weekend. Our deployment strategy is slightly different, of course, as Hamilton has just lost the 1 second range to Charles Leclerc ahead, as Antonelli is going to be on the attack here for sure on Lewis Hamilton. He's just over half a second behind as they make their way down the hangar straight into turn 15. But Russell now pulled out a gap on Verstappen as Verstappen overtook his teammate, and that's lost some all-important time to George Russell up ahead. So movement there as Alex Albon is under investigation for a collision with Ollie Behrman at his home race, of course. Did qualify pretty decent today as Gasly has got past Ocon as he was demoted 3 positions at the start of this race because of impeding Lance Stroll yesterday in qualifying. But Hamilton now just back within Charles Leclerc's I'm going back to 2025. Overtake mode range, under that 1 second range there, as they make their way into turn 3. Antonelli still on the rear wing of Lewis Hamilton, just like he was yesterday for half of that sprint race, upon eventually getting past the young Italian. The Italian eventually got past the 7-time world champion and 9-time winner here at Silverstone, going for his 10th win here at Silverstone. Already the most amount of wins ever at this circuit. So much so that the start-finish straight is named after Lewis Hamilton. But there's still a very long way to go in this race for him to be even thinking about that 10th win. But Charles Leclerc, as they make their way through Copse for the 4th time, leads by just under a second from Lewis Hamilton in P2. Kimi Antonelli, poor race start from him. The poorest race start we've seen from the Mercedes driver for quite some time. Of course, he had poor starts at the start of this season, but Mercedes have got on top of them. But he bogged down here, but only lost a couple of positions. But importantly, he lost 2 positions to the Mercedes. to the Ferrari. Not just one, but two Ferraris. George Russell is 2 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli and starting to pull away from Max Verstappen, who's 1.7 seconds behind. He's now ahead of Isaac Hadjar with Lando Norris in that pack there fighting for P5. Liam Lawson is in P8 with Arvid Lindblad in P9. He got ahead of his teammate and ahead of Oscar Piastri as well. I'm still yet to see a replay of what happened with Oscar Piastri and him at the start of this race. I don't know if he maybe made contact with someone like Lawson. I just don't know. But Piastri is out there and he's on the set of hard compound tyres and will be trying to go to the end of this race. So we will see as he is down in P21. So it could be a lonely race today for Oscar Piastri now for the remainder of this British Grand Prix with 48 laps remaining. Charles Leclerc, yes, 1 second ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Antonelli just losing a second there as well, as Lewis did do the fastest last sector of the race. Of course, this is very different to the sprint race yesterday where they're on full push from the get-go. They have to think about the full race distance here, and Mercedes and Ferrari will be thinking about their strategies already and when they will be wanting to pit. To try and maybe do the undercut or the overcut on the car ahead of them. Antonelli, of course, maybe just thinking about being patient like he was yesterday in that sprint race and eventually taking his opportunity on Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton losing a bit of time to Charles Leclerc in that middle sector, or that first sector that time around. He's 1.3 seconds behind Charles Leclerc as Antonelli is 1 second behind. George Russell, 2.3 seconds behind Antonelli in P4. Verstappen in P5 as Sainz has got past Bortoletto and is now up into P10. Carlos Sainz in that Williams, which has struggled here this weekend, even with a brand new update, is ahead of Gabriel Bortoletto. And well, Gabriel Bortoletto and Carlos Sainz, future teammates maybe. Carlos Sainz in that Williams, as there's a 10-second time penalty for Alex Albon for causing a collision with Ollie Behrman at the start of this race into Brooklands. As Bortoletto regains the position back from Carlos Sainz. And look who's fast approaching as well, Pierre Gasly. As Ocon is being overtaken by Franco Colapinto, who is up 6 positions now, Franco Colapinto, after failing to make it out of Q1 yesterday. So the two Alpines are very close in proximity to one another, chasing for that last point scoring position, as Lawson and Lindblad are in P8 and P9 and pulling away from that battle for P10 and trying to score their 4th consecutive race for double points for the team. Hamilton, though, 1.6 seconds behind Charles Leclerc now. Charles Leclerc maybe leaning on those tyres a bit somewhat more than his teammate and is 1.6 seconds ahead with Antonelli now 1.1 seconds behind. So watching the race restart here and watching to see what happened to... Oh, I think Piastri might have made contact with his teammates, with Lando Norris. Or was that Piastri... I'm just waiting to see what exactly happened. But by the way, Liam Lawson made an unbelievable start at this race as he went... As Liam Lawson went on the attack of Max Verstappen into turn 3 at the start of this race when I am watching it back. But Lando Norris actually, I think, yes, made contact with... Oh, Lando nearly got squeezed and sandwiched between Max and Oscar Piastri, so maybe that's where the damage occurred. Yeah, Hamilton noted for a false start. Hamilton noted for a false start, and if that is the case, that'll be a 5-second time penalty as Alex Albon massively locked up into turn 6. It's a slam dunk penalty there as I'm watching the replay, so understandable why he has been given a time penalty, and he is about to be lapped as well. Is Alex Albon there at the bottom of the screen on the hard compound tyre 22 with Charles Leclerc just up ahead of him. So Charles Leclerc 2.2 seconds ahead of is up 2.2 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton, as Lewis Hamilton is definitely struggling a little bit more in this early stages of the stint here compared to to his teammate and Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli 34.4 last time around compared to Hamilton's 34.6. Charles Leclerc did a 34.0, so that clean air essential for Charles Leclerc at the moment. Maybe he's feeling comfortable here. It's the most comfortable he has felt for quite some time in that Ferrari. A very long way to still go in this race though, but could Charles Leclerc win the British Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton's stomping ground? Imagine that, as Charles is told, we are on plan B for Bravo. Plan B for Bravo. What is plan B for Charles Leclerc? Interesting communication there. So, Lewis Hamilton still noted again for being under investigation for a false start, moving before the signal. But Lewis Hamilton under attack here by Kimi Antonelli as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's. It's a repeat. I'm getting deja vu from the sprint race yesterday. As Hamilton struggling on the medium compound tyre in this first stint, and Antonelli, half a second behind. Will he have enough as Charles Leclerc laps Alex Albon on only lap 7 of this race? And Antonelli gets very close to Lewis Hamilton, but doesn't have enough. Maybe he didn't have overtake mode this time around and have that extra battery advantage to get Lewis this time. But you do imagine it will only be a matter of time. This is a 5-second time penalty for Lewis Hamilton for moving before the race signal. And Lewis Hamilton has got a 5-second time penalty for a false start. Deary, deary me, not a good start to this race. He will have to take that 5-second time penalty when he makes his first pit stop, as Hamilton is overlapping there. Alex Albon as Hulkenberg gets a pass. Valtteri Bottas. He's down 5 places. Nico Hulkenberg at the start of this race. But Hamilton going to be under attack here from Kimi. Yet to see a replay of that full start for Lewis Hamilton, but maybe too eager at the start of this race. Normally it is a slam dunk, and well, we've just seen that be a slam dunk there for Lewis Hamilton. 5-second time penalty to be taken at his next pit stop. So that is definitely going to leave him vulnerable to the cars behind here, and it's definitely changed the outlook of this race for the 9-time winner here at this race. So Charles Leclerc 2.2 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton, clean air ahead of him, and doing very good laps right now. Hamilton 2.2 seconds with that 5-second time penalty. He's only 4 attempts ahead of Antonelli, and Antonelli is staying very close as they make their way through Copse Corner into Magnussen Beckett's. We'll stay on board with this just for now, as Russell is 1.4 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen, as they're lapping pretty consistently. The race pace today seems to be much better from Verstappen than it was in the sprint race. Hadjar not far behind him as well, with Norris in P7, 1.3 seconds behind. Antonelli, does he have enough here down into turn 15? No, not right now. He's just being patient. Kimi Antonelli is being quite patient at the moment in his battle with Lewis Hamilton. As it stands, if Kimi was to finish P3, he would be losing 3 points to Lewis Hamilton in this race. It would be 194 points to 150. Lewis would be second in the championship, with George Russell in third place with 148. So that would be a 44-point gap to Kimi Antonelli and Lewis Hamilton. So that's not too shabby, is it? So as Lewis yet ever so slightly just incorrectly anticipated the start of the race. It is a slam dunk for Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately, but Kimi Antonelli, it's did a poor race start here. So Lewis Hamilton right now is doing the God's work for Charles Leclerc, as he's holding up Kimi and allowing his teammate to pull away here. But how much pace does Charles have? How much longer can he go at this pace? Fastest man out on track, a 34.342 last time around, compared to Hamilton's 34.6. Antonelli stuck behind Lewis at the moment on a 34.7. Russell, a 34.7 for him, lapping the same pace as Antonelli, but he's stuck behind Lewis Hamilton, whereas Russell has a bit of clean air ahead of him. But Antonelli a lot closer this time around. Keep an eye out on Hamilton and Antonelli. He really closed up through Copse Corner there. Did lose a bit of grip and had to lift off through turn 9, which is Copse Corner, as they met their way from Maggots and Beckett's on the exit of Chapel. Half a second behind. Is he going to have enough battery here to be able to overtake? Not as much of a headwind into turn 15 this time around as there was yesterday, which assisted with the pass. That's why the pace differential was so large, but we know how much of an advantage the Mercedes has in a straight line at the moment. And, well, it seems Antonelli is being very patient right now. He's being very patient, uncharacteristically so. Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso are having their own battle, as they are 11 seconds behind the Cadillac of Bottas up ahead. That is considerably slow for Stroll and Alonso. Let me know in the chat how many laps you think the Aston Martins will eventually be lapped by, as we still have 43 laps remaining. As Colapinto gets past Carlos Sainz and is now up into P7. Carlos Sainz, who was not too long ago in P10, overtaking Gabriel Bortoleto, now finds himself in 13th. And Bortoleto is pulling out a gap to Gasly there, 4.7 seconds, and is closing down Arvid Lindblad. 36.1 last time around for Bortoleto, compared to Arvid Lindblad's 36.4. So we'll keep an eye on that gap for the top 10. But definitely, Gasly is not got the same pace as that Audi. So Antonelli 7 tenths behind Hamilton there. And the Mercedes, I'm wondering if this is genuine pace or whether this is just strategy right now for Antonelli, just to be patient behind Lewis, as they're not too far behind Charles Leclerc with only 3.5 seconds. As George is asking, check the gearbox. Very odd downshift is what George Russell is asking. He's 2.8 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli and 1.3 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. Not quite comfortably dropping the Red Bull of Max right now. So I expected a bit better from the Mercedes in relation to the Red Bull, but Max faring much better today than he did in qualifying and the sprint race yesterday, and even on Friday qualifying as well. But Antonelli still unable to get past Lewis Hamilton as Charles Leclerc. That gap is 3.8 seconds to Lewis Hamilton, who has a 5-second time penalty. If you are just joining us right now, Lewis Hamilton did a full start here and has a 5-second time penalty to take at his next pit stop, whenever that may be. Oscar Piastri picked up damage at the start of this race. I missed the replay of exactly where that occurred. So Oscar Piastri picked up damage and he had to make a very early pit stop. That's why he's 21st and having a very lonely race right now. Alex Albon has a 10-second time penalty, but I think he has not served yet, as he basically collided directly with Ollie Bearman and turned the home driver around. That's why Bearman is down in 17th place, 4 positions from where he started. Best driver out there at the moment on positions gained is Franco Colapinto. Failed to make it out of Q1 yesterday, and he is up in P12 and only a couple of seconds behind his teammate. We're going to go back with Kimi Antonelli and Lewis Hamilton, though this is the battle that is closest out there on circuit. As Verstappen is gaining on George Russell, you can see 1.1 seconds as Antonelli. Wow! What happened there? My goody God, that was a big pace difference there on the run up to Copse Corner as Antonelli cleared Lewis Hamilton into turn 9 Copse Corner before they even got there. Maybe Lewis Hamilton conceded that position there from Kimi, but wow, that was some pace difference between the two drivers. Antonelli, who has been stuck behind Lewis Hamilton for quite some time, as wow, Lewis did defend there. He did defend, but the overtake mode clearly, and that pace difference of the Mercedes battery evident as Antonelli cleared Hamilton into Copse Corner. But will Lewis be able to get back past Antonelli? We will see. Of course, Lewis needs to be thinking about his own race as a whole. If you fight here, you do lose a considerable amount of time, but that's now going to leave Antonelli clean air for about 4 seconds before he catches Charles Leclerc. Antonelli, how quickly will he be able to catch Charles Leclerc as he is now released? A 34.6 last time around for Charles Leclerc with clean air in front of him, and Antonelli did a 34.2 with undoubtedly the assistance of the overtake mode by clearing Lewis Hamilton into Copse Corner there as they make their way down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands for the 12th time. Charles Leclerc leads by 4.2 seconds on Kimi Antonelli. Antonelli now back up into P2 after a poor start to this race, is ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who is just within that 1 second range after just being overtaken the previous lap. But Lewis does have a 5-second time penalty for a false start, and well, George Russell is within that 5-second range. Verstappen is within that 5-second range as well, and Isaac Hadjar is very close to that 5-second range. So it's going to be very interesting when they come around to the pit stop windows. But Lewis unable to stay close with Antonelli here. Maybe the setup changes haven't benefited Lewis here in the race today, as Hulkenberg and Perez are swapping positions there, as Hulkenberg is into P15 ahead of the Cadillac of Sergio Perez, as Bearman is looking to close down there as well, as Gasly unable to close down on that last point scoring position on Bortoleto and is actually falling behind Bortoleto, who is closing down Arvid Lindblad in P9. 35.6 last time around for Bortoleto in P10, and he is looking to get ahead of Arvid Lindblad, another homegrown driver. Verstappen, all ready for a few laps now. I haven't said anything, but the downshifts are so bleep, is what Verstappen said. Verstappen not happy with that Red Bull engine, but he is closing down on George Russell. 1 second is the gap to George Russell now, so he may be struggling with downshifts, Max Verstappen, but it's still enough to close down the Mercedes of George Russell. And well, could Max Verstappen here sneak a podium today after not even looking like he was going to at any point this weekend? Stay tuned for that with 40 laps remaining. So we have a run through of the grid here. Charles Leclerc leads Kimi Antonelli 4.6 seconds. Charles, a bit better lap this time around for him, a 34.3 compared to Antonelli's 34.4. Hamilton is within that 1 second range in P3. Russell P4, 1 second just ahead of Max Verstappen. Isaac Hadjar is in P6. Good start this time around for the Red Bulls compared to yesterday in the sprint race. He is in P6 and is trying to hold off Lando Norris, who is in P7. Liam Lawson in pretty much a race of his own with Arvid Lindblad. He is in P8 with Arvid Lindblad 1.4 seconds behind in P9, but being chased down upon and closed down upon by Gabriel Bortoleto in P10. Gasly is up 4 places into P11 with Colapinto in P12. Sainz is 13th, Ocon 14th. Hulkenberg is down 3 places into 15th and trying to recover those places. Perez is up 4 places into P16. Bearman down 4 places after being tagged and spun around by Alex Albon, who is dead last at the moment. He is in P17. Bottas is 18th. Stroll and Alonso are fighting for their own positions here. They're having their own little race, and they're 15 seconds off of Bottas in 18th place. So Alonso and Stroll having their own race here today in 19th and 20th. Piastri had damage at the start of this race. Still unsure exactly what caused Piastri's damage. He is in 21st with a very early pit stop and catching the two Aston Martins. And Alex Albon, a 10-second time penalty for him for causing a collision. He is down in 22nd and has been the only car lapped thus far. That is the current proceedings here at the British Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc, 4.4 seconds, gained another 10th on Antonelli this time around by leading this race. And wow, what a race Charles Leclerc is having right now. A circuit where he does not have much success at. He has been on the podium step a couple of times here, but it's been a good few years since he has experienced that. And it's been a good time since he has experienced the top step in a Ferrari. Could he do it at Lewis Hamilton's stomping ground? Time will tell. He's got 39 laps left to navigate here to see whether he can hold off Kimi Antonelli. Lewis Hamilton trying to stay close to Kimi with that 5-second penalty. He is 3.5 seconds ahead of George Russell, who is holding off Max Verstappen for now, but for how long, as that Red Bull is closing ever closer. Hadjar holding up Norris in P6. And there's a couple of separate battles happening out there at the moment. And I do think once Verstappen clears Russell, he could be on the back of Hamilton very, very quickly. Pit stop windows, we are expecting around lap 24 to 30 is when the pit stop window will be open. We do expect a one-stop strategy here today. Unfortunately, the mediums and the hard compound tyres seem to be pretty much the same tyre. So not really going to be any alternative strategies here, any variability in strategies, which is a shame after the previous two races where we have had 2 and even 3 stops utilised. But Antonelli, 1.3 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Verstappen unable to get past Russell down into the hangar straight there, down into Stowe corner of turn 15. He is still on the back and trying to apply the pressure to George, who has not been on the pace of his teammate here at his home Grand Prix. 5 tenths is the gap. Loses a bit under rear traction now as they make their way through turn 3 and turn 4. Hamilton, 1.5 seconds to losing ground to Antonelli. A green first sector for Charles Leclerc that time around and was 100th of a second quicker than Antonelli. So Charles does have the pace right now ahead of Antonelli in this first stint to manage that gap of just over 4.5 seconds. What is the gap at the moment? So Lewis Hamilton, 5 seconds. So he's nearly got a 5-second gap to George Russell. Remember, there's a 20-second pit stop lost time here. 4 drivers out on the circuit, so at the British Grand Prix under green flag conditions. So that is the gap the drivers are looking for. If Charles Leclerc was to pit right now, he would have that window. He has that pit stop window ahead of Liam Lawson with 28 seconds to Liam Lawson. So they already pretty much have a decent pit stop window, the top 3 drivers, that is for sure. 9.5 seconds advantage is what could be made under. As Piastri says, front left doesn't look great. It's graining at the moment. Maybe that's what Lewis Hamilton and some of these drivers are struggling with right now. George Russell as well, maybe struggling with graining, and that's what some of the other drivers are faring much better with. So that means that the thermal temperatures are struggling here, and that they will have a loss of grip, but they will be able to work through it, and the grip will come back to them. But yes, if you pit under a VSC here or a safety car, you have a 10.5 second pit stop, and you gain 9.5 seconds on your rivals. We have seen the VSC play an important part this season, whether you're on the right side or the wrong side of it. As Oscar Piastri now finds himself the meat in an Aston Martin sandwich there, down in 20th place. Yes, you heard that correctly. Oscar Piastri down in 20th place as Verstappen is all under the rear wing of George Russell here as they exit the loop of turn 5 and make their way down the Wellington Straight into turn 6. Let's see what Max Verstappen will be able to do. He's very, very close, but not close enough to go for a late send into turn 6 there. He's he's one of the harder braking zones on this Silverstone circuit, but not enough to be able to outbrake them. As Lindblad says, can you tell him to hurry up, please? Is what Lindblad has reported as asked for Liam Lawson. Of course, there was a bit of hoo-ha last time around with team orders not being adhered to with Liam Lawson and Arvid Lindblad. And well, Lindblad has told Liam Lawson to get a move on as Leto is 4 seconds behind. A green lap for Arvid Lindblad last time out of 35.4 compared to Lawson's 35.6. But maybe there is strategy at play there. We will see. But Hamilton does have a penalty, guys. If you are just tuning in, he's 2.7 seconds behind Antonelli, and he has a penalty for a false start, a 5-second time penalty to the rest of the field. So yes, it is a slam dunk. It was a correct one. No conspiracy there. Just Hamilton being a bit too eager to get going at his home Grand Prix. And well, how costly will that be come the end of the race? As he's losing time to Antonelli. He's struggling on these mediums at the moment. Hamilton struggling and bleeding time left, right and centre to the front too. He doesn't have the pace to his teammate. 35.3 last time around compared to Charles Leclerc's 34.4. And yes, you can say he's got dirty air to Antonelli ahead, but evidently he is really struggling. He is bleeding time left, right and centre. Well, let's have a look at what that first sector time is for Lewis Hamilton. And, well, that first sector time for Lewis, we're about to find out, is a 30.2 compared to Leclerc's 29.9. He's 3 tenths slower than his teammate in that first sector, and he's 2.5 tenths slower, or 2 tenths slower than Antonelli in that first sector as well. So not looking good, as whereas you see as Verstappen, a 29.7, and to George Russell's 30.2. He is applying the pressure, Max, and if he gets past George, which he could do right now, as they're side by side into Cops, and Max, just like Antonelli did, use that overtake mode, finally gets past George Russell and is up into P4, and he'll have his sights set on Lewis Hamilton, who is only 3 seconds up the road and struggling on this current set of medium compound tyres. Verstappen ahead of George Russell. But will Russell come back at Verstappen? I'm sure he's not going to let this lie. He'll want to get back past the Dutchman. They're going to be side by side into Stone, and Max holds on just for now. But will he be out of position as they make their way into Val? Breaking into turn 16 as Max pits. Interesting, Max Verstappen. He's just got ahead of George Russell there, and he pits on lap 16. The first driver to pit here today out of the top teams without it being an enforced pit stop like Oscar Piastri with damage. So Verstappen pitting on lap 16 here, lap 17, shall we say, and we'll see what will happen for this strategy. Is this an indication of a 2-stop strategy here today? I do hope so, but we have 35 laps remaining here at Silverstone. It may be the hard compound tyre, it will be undoubtedly the hard compound tyre going on here, but will it be enough for this hard compound tyre to do 35 laps to the end of the race? Time will tell, of course. Is this genius by Red Bull? We know they like to roll the dice. We know they like to be bold when it comes to their strategy. As they comes out ahead of Liam Lawson there and Arvid Lindblad, a good pit stop from the Red Bull team. Hamilton now 4.2 seconds ahead of George Russell with 35.1 compared to, he's nearly a second off of Charles Leclerc's pace at the front. Charles is absolutely loving this, being at the front right now. He is not found himself at the front of a race for quite some time. Not since really the start of this season, the opener in Australia. Yes, he has led some races after some pit stops, but not on due merit. And well, he is doing very well here at a circuit that isn't really a strong track for him, and he hasn't had any good recent success. As Norris still within that 1 second range of Isaac Hadjar with a green middle sector, unable really to get past Hadjar. I wonder if anyone will respond to Verstappen's pit stop here and strategy, as Verstappen does a green middle sector, his fastest middle sector of the race, a 38.0. He's 11 seconds now, just under 11 seconds from Lando Norris. No one responding yet this time around to the Red Bull pit stop of Max Verstappen. He is the only driver in the top 10 or the top teams, other than Oscar Piastri, who was an enforced pit stop due to damage, who have made a stop thus far. Charles Leclerc lead as he just does the fastest last sector. Speaking of the devil, he does the fastest last sector of anyone today at 25.4. Purple there on your timing screens, and he's 10.5 seconds back from Lando Norris, and I'm sure that will be swiftly reduced that time to Lando Norris up ahead and his teammate. Charles Leclerc though leading by 4.3 seconds to Kimi Antonelli as Charles Leclerc reaches the 2 Aston Martins and is lapping them for the first time here as he makes his way into Maggots and Beckett's. Kimi Antonelli 4 seconds behind, and Charles Leclerc gets in between Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso and has to sit behind Lance Stroll all the way through Maggots and Beckett's. And look at the time that Antonelli has just taken out of Charles Leclerc there, down into through Maggots and Beckett's. He's gained almost half a second because Charles Leclerc got stuck behind Lance Stroll through Maggots and Beckett's there. So not a good time to catch the 2 Aston Martins. And I'm sure as Lance Stroll now dives into the pit lane, so Antonelli benefiting lovely there from some blue flags and lap cars of the 2 Aston Martins on Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso's just gone a bit slower there. No, it's just he's driver marker there that has meant he's gone a bit slower through the last sector. But Charles Leclerc still leads by just under 4 seconds from Kimi Antonelli. Hamilton 4.8 seconds behind Antonelli now, and bleeding time left, right and centre as Hadjar is the second driver in the top teams to pit here as he follows his teammate a couple of laps later and will be on the hard compound tyre undoubtedly as well here. So for Red Bull taking the initiative in relation to their strategy, and we'll see how that will play out for them as Verstappen on the first fully timed lap here on these brand new set of hards does the fastest lap of the race of 33.562, and he is lapping a full second quicker than the rest of the field. But remember, these hards have to go to the end of the race if they do want to do a one stop. It could be a two stop. We will see. But Russell still out there yet to pit. Norris still out there yet to pit. Hamilton still yet to pit. Antonelli and Charles Leclerc as well. But Hamilton has that 5-second time penalty for a full start at the beginning of this race. And, well, he, as Hadjar has been told, yeah, Hadjar, where did he come out, Hadjar? Hadjar has come out behind Bortoleto. So he is racing the Audi 4 position here, Isaac Hadjar, but I'm sure he will get ahead of Bortoleto pretty quickly. But Lando Norris, will they respond? Will McLaren respond here to the Red Bulls? No one has responded thus far. They have pitted very early. I've just seen the pit stop window. It says lap 24 to lap 30 is the pit stop window, expected pit stop window here today. So they have pitted quite early. So we'll see how the Red Bulls will fare. They'll probably get track position, and they're then going to have to force the other teams to overtake them. Maybe that is the strategy today. Of course, Max Verstappen, one of the best defenders out there. He loves to get his elbows out, of course. And we know that catching is one thing, overtaking is another. Silverstone is possible to overtake, though. So we'll see how this strategy will play out for Red Bull, as Max Verstappen is very much better here today than he was for the rest, as he has done compared to the rest of this weekend. So Charles Leclerc leads by 3.5 seconds, 3.6 seconds to Kimi Antonelli. Lewis Hamilton is 5.2 seconds behind Kimi in P3. George Russell 4.1 seconds behind. Norris is 7.3 seconds behind George Russell in the top 5 positions. Max Verstappen has made a pit stop, and he is on the hard compound tyre. He is 8.4 seconds behind Lando Norris in P6. Lawson is up 3 places into P7. He is still yet to pit, as well as his teammate, who is just behind him 2 seconds back. Hadjar has just made a pit stop and is now chasing the 2 RBs, his former team. He is in P9 on a set of hards. That won't be very long before he gets past them in the Red Bull machinery. But Gabriel Bortoleto in P10, he is looking to secure the last point scoring position here. And, well, he's looking quite comfortable to do so, as he's 6.6 seconds ahead of Gasly in P11. He's more so looking at the 2 RBs up the road. He has lost a bit of ground to them, but Audi definitely on course to score some points here today. But how many will it be? Gasly up 4 places into P11. Colapinto up 7 places into P7. Is Hamilton going to pit here? No. No one pitting yet. George Russell, is he going to pit? No. As Fernando Alonso goes into the pit lane and follows his teammate who pitted the lap before. Ocon is up 4 places into P13, with Perez up 6 places into P14. Well, sorry, he's now only 5 places. He's just been overtaken by Ollie Behrman into Brooklands there, as Behrman, who did get spun around earlier on in this race by Alex Albon, who received a 10-second time penalty for that collision, is in P14 and nearly back where he started. But per Sergio Perez, oh, the caddy is not lying down here this weekend, as it's great to see the caddy get fighting there and get punchy, even if it is at the expense of Ollie Behrman, who is also another home at his home GP. There's a VSC! Deary me, who's it for? A VSC? Is there debris out on circuit? And, well, no one's going to be able to benefit from this. There's marshals out of turn 10. Double yellow in sector 11. What has occurred? There's got to be some debris out on circuit. But none of the top drivers are going to be able to benefit from this, as they've already gone round the pits. Yes, only Esteban Ocon is going to slightly benefit from this. The VSC is about to come to an end. I'm not sure what was out on circuit. It was definitely something. I'm waiting to see what it was. We know that there's been a couple of collisions at the start of this race, so maybe a front wing end plate has flown out on circuit and is right in the middle of the racing line. Oh, it's an umbrella. Someone's umbrella has blown onto, not quite onto the circuit, but it's blown onto the grass alongside Maggots and Beckett's. Typical Brits, eh? Typical Brits. It's not even raining. It's not even raining, and we've got our brollies out, haven't we? And it's blown out. Thankfully, not onto the race circuit. It blew out onto only onto the grass, and that was why we had a very brief VSC there as a marshal swiftly removed the luminous yellow umbrella. It's almost, is that coming from the Lando stand, I wonder? Because they're all in those colours today. But yes, only Esteban Ocon half benefited from that. He didn't get the full benefit of a VSC, but he half benefited from it as Piastri gets ahead of Valtteri Bottas. And last time around, Charles Leclerc did the fastest last sector of anyone. Not quite, it wasn't quite a parasol, it was umbrella. An umbrella on a sunny day. Just put the sunscreen on and wear a cap, wear a hat. That's all you need. So yes, that was swiftly removed. But typical, it would only happen in Britain, wouldn't it? It would only happen in the UK. But thank you guys for tuning in, by the way. We have 30 laps remaining of this British Grand Prix as Colapinto dives into the pit lane now from P12 as we're now starting to get into the pit stop window here at the Silverstone circuit. If you are enjoying the stream, hit that like and subscribe button. We have got 1,500 likes with 18,000 of you here in this watch-along right now. And if you can hit that subscribe button, let's get that ticker at the top of your screen there rolling over and ever closer to 90,000 subscribers. As Hamilton is saying, oh geez, I've got so much understeer, it's crazy. Yeah, the car just won't turn in. So Hamilton struggling with the turning of that Ferrari, and well, that's why he is currently 6.5 seconds behind Antonelli and unable to stay with the pace of Charles Leclerc. So maybe those changes that he made yesterday to the car, trying to chase performance, is the Lewis Hamilton of old, and he has made the car worse, and they've made the car worse. That is a poor theme of Lewis Hamilton, as we saw in the ground effects era, and it very, very rarely worked, and I think that's what's the case this time around as well, as Hamilton is now into the pit lane, as is George Russell as well. He follows him in, but Lewis Hamilton will have to serve this 5-second penalty that he received for a false start at the beginning of this race. Just too eager to get off the line, Lewis Hamilton, at his home Grand Prix. That is why George will come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton here as they exit the pit lane. Why Max Verstappen will find himself ahead of Lewis Hamilton as he makes his way into turn 3. And Lewis now is down 3 places into P6. He comes out ahead of Fernando Alonso, who has been lapped already in the Aston Martin, with Lance Stroll behind, and Hamilton will have to now overtake a Mercedes in the form of George Russell and a Red Bull of Max Verstappen, who is on 6 lap older hard compound tyres if he wants to finish on the podium today. There is enough of... Oh dear, Hamilton didn't want to pit. Hamilton didn't want to pit, but there's... he didn't want to pit, and he said, my tyres are still good, my tyres are still good. But they've decided to pit him now. And, well, Hamilton not happy with this pit stop. It does look like they served that 5-second time penalty comfortably. No one touched the car. But very, very mixed signalling there from Lewis Hamilton, saying he's struggling with understeer and that he's got no turning, and then saying that his tyres are good. So Lewis Hamilton... we'll see how this plays out for them, but Ferrari instructing Lewis to pit. Whether this will be a good decision or not, time will tell. But Lewis Hamilton in P6. George Russell does the fastest middle sector of anyone today on those brand new hard compound tyres of 37.7, as Lando Norris still stays out there and is going long in this race. Charles Leclerc staying out long in this race, being held up by some lap traffic here. 2.7 seconds is the gap between Charles Leclerc and Kimi Antonelli, as Antonelli took 4/10 of a second out of Charles Leclerc last time around, as Charles makes his way down the Wellington straight into Brooklands with Antonelli clearing that lap traffic of Ocon and Perez pretty swiftly there. So Antonelli catching. Can he win this race, Antonelli, and make it a clean sweep this weekend in race wins? The sprint race yesterday and the main race today to extend his lead in the championship. If it was to finish as it is, Antonelli would be gaining 8 points on George Russell and extending his lead. Hamilton he'd be gaining 10 points on Hamilton as well, so that gap would go to 57 points between Hamilton and Kimi Antonelli, and it would go to 51 points between Russell and Kimi Antonelli if he finishes in P2 right now. But if he wins this race and George finishes in P5 and Hamilton P6, of course we still know that Norris has got to make a pit stop as well. Then there is a possibility, of course, of him extending it even further if he wins this race. But George Russell there, wow, that first sector from Lewis Hamilton was mighty. So a confirmation there out of the stewards confirming that Lewis Hamilton has served his 5-second time penalty for that full start at the pit stop. That's why he's down in P6. So he will not get another penalty for not serving it like George Russell did in the McLaren. As Leclerc is in the pit lane. So Leclerc has pitted. So not only 1 lap after, really, Lewis Hamilton. So this is definitely the strategy for Ferrari. This is when they wanted to pit. So Leclerc is going to come out into the lead. Now, Antonelli, how will Mercedes respond? Are they going to go for the overcut? What is Mercedes' response going to be as Carlos Sainz has a black and white flag for track limits? He has 4 track limits violations now. Carlos Sainz, one more and he will get 8 penalty for that. So Carlos Sainz struggling out there as Lewis Hamilton does the fastest lap of the race with a 32.3 as they are lapping. Who is that there? Alex Albon for the second time. Alex Albon there who caused a collision at the start of this race and has just made another pit stop. Alex Albon is now out onto a set of soft compound tyres. Just another practice session here it is for Alex Albon and Williams today with Carlos Sainz up in P14. Still not really an opportunity to score points here today as they're so far behind P10, which is Gabriel Bortoleto who's closing down the gap on Arvid Lindblad in P9 as Carlos Sainz, speaking of the devil, just gets overtaken by Nico Hulkenberg there, who is recovering after a poor start to this race. Another poor start to another Audi race here. So Hamilton, 7/10 of a second behind George Russell as they make their way into Copse Corner. Charles Leclerc, what is Antonelli going to do? Are Mercedes going to pit and respond to Charles Leclerc here, or are they going to stay out? Antonelli stays out. They're going to go long here, Antonelli, and they're going to want the tyre offset, or will they even have the pace? Remember, it's an average 20-second pit stop loss time here at Silverstone. So at the moment, Leclerc is comfortably within that pit stop window of Kimi Antonelli, but Antonelli will have the fresher tyres at the end of the race, and we know Antonelli likes that. He decided to take that decision in Austria, and he nearly caught Max Verstappen, but this time around he's going for the race win. But how long will they keep Antonelli out there for? Under 16 seconds is the time between Leclerc and Antonelli, as Leclerc did the fastest middle sector last time around on those brand new hards. We will see how this is going to play out with 26 laps remaining here. We are at the halfway mark of this British Grand Prix. Antonelli leads, still yet to make a pit stop from Charles Leclerc, who is 15.4 seconds behind. Norris still yet to make a pit stop as well. He is in P3. Verstappen made the earliest pit stop out of everyone here in the top 10. He is in P4 and is currently 2.4 seconds ahead of George Russell. Hamilton, he had to serve a 5-second time penalty for a window, as he says, we are P6 and fighting for the podium, P3. Hamilton has been told by his engineer as he is looking to try and get past George Russell. Served that 5-second time penalty for a full start. He is in P6. He is 12.3 seconds ahead of Isaac Hadjar in P7. Liam Lawson is 1.5 seconds behind Hadjar, but is still yet to make a pit stop, as is Arvid Lindblad as well, who finds himself 3.3 seconds behind his teammate. Bortoleto has pitted now, and he's going to try and do the undercut here. So 22.5 seconds for Bortoleto is the gap to Arvid Lindblad. Remember, it's 20-second average pit stop loss window. Will Lindblad and RB respond to that pit stop from the Audi of Gabriel Bortoleto? Bortoleto will be looking to push on this outlap here and get the undercut done on Lindblad at least. Lawson maybe a little bit too far, but will Lawson and Lindblad try and go a bit longer in this race? We will see as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's whether they're going to respond to the pit stop there of Gabriel Bortoleto and that attempted undercut. As Gasly has just overtaken Ollie Bearman and finds himself behind Franco Colapinto at the moment. As Colapinto, when did that happen? Colapinto is ahead of Gasly. He's having a tremendous race, Colapinto, here at Silverstone. As Hamilton did the fastest last sector of the race there and is looking still to try and get past George Russell. Is chasing down Max Verstappen. As Antonelli has been told, don't let other people undercut me, as he is currently in the lead, 15.3 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. But remember, he will make that pit stop. Maybe there could still be an opportunity. He's missed the last couple of VSCs. He's been on the wrong side of the last couple of VSCs, and well, could he be on the right side of one this time around? Because he would gain the lead by default with just a nice, comfortable pit stop. Antonelli, as he is 15.2 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc, as Verstappen and Russell and Hamilton are nose to tail at the moment. Hardly anything separating those three drivers out on circuit as they exit Brooklands. As Arvid Lindblad, is he going to be able to respond here to the undercut of Bortoleto? They responded to it, but Bortoleto has those tyres up to temperature. And he's going to be all over the rear of the Brits here as they make their way through turn 3 and turn 4, through the loop. Is Arvid Lindblad going to have any grip here through the exit of turn 5 to hold off Gabriel Bortoleto? They covered it off just about, and Bortoleto here, you can see he's gaining as they make their way into down the Wellington Straight, and I think will be a very, very good response to the undercut there of Bortoleto. But now Bortoleto is on the rear wing of Arvid Lindblad. He'd been closing for quite a considerable amount of time, and we will keep an eye on that battle as it progresses. As Bortoleto, very close here. Is he going to get past Lindblad? He won't have that overtake mode, of course, because he wasn't within the 1 second range as Arvid Lindblad was in the pit lane. We'll have it next time around. But let's have a look at this battle as Norris now dives into the pit lane. He is going to have a bit of a tyre delta, tyre offset to those ahead of him. But here we go. Verstappen, Russell and Hamilton. Half a second separating Russell and Verstappen. Half a second separating Hamilton and Russell. And this is going to be spicy, ladies and gents. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and stay tuned for this as Hadjar gets out ahead of Lando Norris as they're nose to tail as they make their way into turn 3. But George Russell closing in on Max Verstappen as they make their way down into Brooklands with Hamilton swiftly following behind. Charles Leclerc trying to close that gap down to Kimi Antonelli. But keep an eye on, look after his hard compound tyres at the same time, of course, because he needs to take these to the end of the race. Antonelli is going to have a tyre advantage over Charles Leclerc and is looking to win this race and have a clean sweep here this weekend as Hamilton gets past Russell into Copse Corner. Oh my goodness, Lewis Hamilton. But I think he's going to be susceptible to an overtake here as they're side by side into Maggers and Beckers as George concedes. Oh my goodness, that could have been a heartbreak city there for the home fans as two of the Brits went side by side. But now Lewis Hamilton, he tried to get past and he's been swiftly overtaken back past down the hangar straight by George Russell, and that is the nature of these regulations. Unfortunately, Hamilton unable to stay ahead as Verstappen says, I have no grip. It is horrendous right now, and he breathes a sigh of relief. But for how long? As Russell and Hamilton are instantly back within the 1 second range of Verstappen as they went side by side through Copse and then through Maggots and Beckett's. Deary me, deary me. But Hamilton and Russell, they're fighting amongst themselves. But Verstappen, well, he's in P3, but how long is he going to last? 23 laps remaining. It's more of a matter of when, not if, they will get past him. And then it looks like it's going to be a battle between Russell and Hamilton for the podium, fighting for P2 in this championship. Whoever finishes ahead of each other in the race will will get second in the championship. George Russell currently second, and well, as it stands, if Antonelli finishes first and neither of them finish on the podium, it's fourth and fifth. Russell would be on 148 points and Antonelli would be on 204. Over a 55-point gap. 56 points would be the gap between George Russell and Kimi Antonelli. A tremendous gap as Norris gets past Isaac Hadjar down into Brooklands there on a brand new set of tyres, as Hadjar is on 10 lap-old hards. And well, if Verstappen is really struggling here on these hard compound tyres, is it maybe a two-stop here today? We will see. Verstappen pitted early. Red Bull threw the dice. We know they like to do so. And well, look at the gap here as they make their way down the hangar straight into turn 15, Stowe corner. Russell gaining, but maybe doesn't have enough overtake mode at the moment. And Hamilton with a double toe there. Look at the pace he's got as they make their way into Stowe corner. Is Hamilton going to go for a move into Val? Is he going to go late on the brakes? George is looking ahead at Max Verstappen, but he has to also have one eye in his rearview mirrors on the Scarlet Ferrari right behind him as he's even closer than George is to Verstappen up ahead. Well, here we go. Verstappen is going to breathe, look in his rearview mirrors and see the the turquoise off the right of George Russell. His Mercedes being side by side with Lewis Hamilton, maybe into turn 3 as Lewis goes for a move. They're side by side into turn 3. They're still side by side. And well, Lewis has to back off a little bit, but George is going to have to go defensive. He's going to be offline here as Lewis, you can see them slow side by side through turn 4, and Hamilton has displaced Russell out of position here as he's going to have the slipstream and the battery to get past George down into Brooklands corner. Is it enough? He is for now, but they're still side by side as they get through turn 6, and Lewis holds on to the position for now, but George comes back at Lewis as he goes deep into turn 7, and well, he's now going to have the slipstream and the straight line speed here to get back past Lewis into Copse corner, you do presume, as they're side by side again for the second time this race, and George is back ahead of Lewis into turn 9. Deary me, great racing between the two, and all the while they're still staying within touching distance of Max Verstappen, who is 13.5 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc 14.2 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli, and 6 seconds within that pit stop window of the young Italian and our current championship leader. Deary me, great racing between the two of them though, fair and respectful between George and Lewis, and great to see them go wheel to wheel, former teammates of course, but Lewis Hamilton just unable to really get past George Russell, can't pull away from the battery of the Mercedes. The Mercedes just has so much battery efficiency and straight line speed. But the Ferrari cannot pull away. And really, with Max Verstappen just up ahead, it is assisting George Russell at the moment to stay within touching distance. But yes, wow, just watching the replay there. And the Mercedes breezes straight back past down into Copse corner. But they're costing each other a lot of time here. But really, they are only fighting for the podium position here as Max Verstappen is 14 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, 6-lap-old hard. He is 13.8 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli. We have 21 laps remaining. Antonelli, what set of tyres is he going to go on to? Is he going to go on to the softs, Kimi Antonelli, at the end of this race? Is that how long he is going to go? He is 4 tenths a lap slower than Charles Leclerc at the moment. Is he maybe still... Surely he's not just waiting for a VSC. They are clearly want that tyre advantage at the end of the race. Kimi Antonelli over Charles Leclerc, who has had a tremendous race here today at arguably one of these most weakest circuits on the calendar. He has had podiums here before, but it's been a good few years since he has been fighting for a podium at the Silverstone circuit. As Charles did go a little bit slow there. His marker went a little bit slow there for the last couple of corners, but I don't think anything of it. As Russell is really close to Verstappen now as they made their way through Stowe Corner. We could see an attempt here of George Russell on Max Verstappen. Do not rule out Lewis Hamilton, of course, capitalising on this as Hamilton is told, you are doing a good job. You are doing a good job as he's trying to find some clean air for the corners. As he has 2 cars throwing off a whole heap of dirty air ahead of him. He's been able to get past the Mercedes for now, but he's looking to capitalise on George Russell up ahead, who is half a second behind Verstappen. And this is the closest Russell has been on Max, who is struggling on those hard compound tyres. He's been visibly frustrated on the radio. You could hear it here today. Let's see how he fares. Does he have enough down through Brooklands Corner? I'm not sure. Of course, remember the Red Bull powertrain. It is not a slouch by any means. It is the fastest powertrain out there if the FIA data is to be believed. It is the benchmark powertrain out there at the moment, but we know that's only 50% of the power delivery here in these 2026 regs. There is the battery and the efficiency and the recovery that is to be taken into account as well. And undoubtedly, the Mercedes is the best all-round car at the moment and the best at that. We've seen an example of that today, even in George Russell, who is not at one with the Mercedes. We saw it yesterday with Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Antonelli fighting for the race lead, but it's great to see these three fighting out for a podium in the closing stage of this race. We still have 19 laps remaining as Kimi Antonelli crosses the line for the 34th lap here of 52 at Silverstone. Charles Leclerc is 13.5 seconds behind Antonelli. Of course, he has to manage that balance of keeping these tyres in good nick to the end of the race, as George Russell is really, really close to Max Verstappen there as they went side by side through Stowe Corner, and he's all under the rear wing of Max Verstappen as they went into Stowe and through Val, and as they made their way through Club Corner, the last corner here. George Russell surely is going to have a decent attempt into turn 3, or did he use all of his battery there on an attempt into turn 15? We know Max catching him is one thing, overtaking him is another, as George Russell did go side by side with Max into the corner, but Max still had enough grip on the outside to hold on to that position. And well, that may now leave Russell vulnerable to Hamilton down into turn 6. Hang on. He's got a slow puncture. George Russell has a slow puncture. Oh dear, apparently George has a slow puncture. He's just been told he's got a slow puncture. He hasn't pitted this time around. The Mercedes pit crew already waiting for him to come into the pits. There's no response from George on the radio. But there you go, confirmation of Max Verstappen has just been told George has to pit for a slow puncture. And well, he is in between. He's sandwiched between Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen at the moment. He's just said to keep an eye on the pressures. And well, let's see whether this is going to be the case. Let's see if this is going to be the case with George Russell. If he's going to pit this time around, he's going to have a go on Max Verstappen. He's supposedly got a slow puncture, but he doesn't care. He wants this position over the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. They're side by side as they go through Stowe Corner. Is he going to dive into the pit lane, or is he going to stay out there and continue this fight? Oh, it's a shame. He has to stay. He has to come into the pits. He's been told he has to pit, but we at least now get Max versus Lewis. We've had the starters, now it's the main course. Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton. Once again, we are being treated here. I never thought we've waited a very long time for these two drivers to go wheel to wheel, and we've seen it a few times already this season. Now, let's have it for the second race weekend in a row. Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen here for a podium position. They did it in Canada, and well, now they have to do it again as George Russell unfortunately has a slow puncture. He's now onto a set of used medium compounds, and he has to fight for P6 and get past Isaac Hadjar. Yes, he hasn't been on the race pace this weekend, but yeah, as George did actually get ahead of Max Verstappen as they went side by side through Stowe, but then he had to he had to dive into the pits. So yeah, really, really interesting battle there. But here we go, Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton. Verstappen is on 6-lap older hard compound tyres as Hamilton is on half a second. It's half a second behind as Perez is just up ahead as Verstappen will be receiving the dirty air there. We'll keep an eye on that battle and we'll keep an eye on the gap as well to Antonelli and Charles Leclerc as Charles Leclerc is 12.6 seconds behind Antonelli when he dives into the pit lane. He will have 10-lap-old fresher tyres than that of Charles Leclerc. What tyre is he going to come out on? We will see as Antonelli, our championship leader, exits the pit lane as Charles Leclerc regains the lead of this British Grand Prix as Hamilton unable to get past Verstappen there into turn 15. Are they side by side through Club and Val and Club there? No, just a slight delay there in the transponder. So Antonelli out onto a fresh set of hard compound tyres and he is 7.7 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. 7.7 seconds behind Charles Leclerc with a 10-lap advantage as an incident involving Russell and Verstappen has been noted in turn 15 for forcing another driver off of the racing surface. It looked close, but I think it was fair racing, to be honest with you. It was very, very interesting battle there, but as Hamilton still stuck behind Verstappen, half a second behind Verstappen, 9.7 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli, but that is not going to be the gap come the end of the race between P3 and P2 as Verstappen, George Russell now gets past Isaac Hadjar back up into P6 there on a set of medium compound tyres, and he'll be looking to get at Lando Norris. But will he have to go defensive here to Isaac Hadjar, who is going to come back at him with that Red Bull powertrain on Mercedes into turn 6? Well, he tried, but he didn't have enough, and he didn't have enough level of grip on those 16-lap-old hards Hadjar as he has to settle for P7 right now. As Verstappen and Hamilton are the closest out there. Antonelli will keep an eye on that gap as he did a 37.576 compared to Leclerc's 37.9 in the middle sector last time around. That is his outlap, remember. So Antonelli is going to catch Leclerc at a quick rate of knots, but does Leclerc have enough tyres left in there to hold on to this race lead and finish the Silverstone Grand Prix, finish the British Grand Prix here at Silverstone as a race winner when no one expected it to? I had him as my stinker here this weekend, and my goodness, how he has completely turned this performance from Saturday on its head. What a great performance it's been from Charles Leclerc, even if he finishes second today. But you can see Antonelli is gaining a whole heap of time there through every corner at the moment. But Charles Leclerc does have some lap traffic up ahead of him in the form of Carlos Sainz and Oscar Piastri. Hamilton fight for the podium here. 0.6 of a second between Hamilton and Verstappen. Hamilton unable to really kind of capitalise on the 6-lap advantage that he has on tyre life-wise over Max Verstappen on this. He has a tyre delta here, but still really unable to get past closing up there into Brooklands is Lewis Hamilton on Verstappen. We'll see if he's going to be able to utilise maybe some lap traffic here in the form of the two Haas's up ahead. But let's have a run-through of your grid at the moment as it stands with 16 laps remaining. We still yet have, by the way, no retirements in this race. Every single driver is still out there at Silverstone. It's the first. Will it stay that way? Could we have our first race of the season? Could we have our first race of the season where we have no retirements? Still 16 laps remaining here as Antonelli does the fastest middle sector, and that gap is already down to under 6 seconds, 5.6 seconds. Antonelli is gaining a whole heap of time through the corners at the moment on those 10-lap fresher tyres. He is in P2, chasing down Charles Leclerc, 5.3 seconds behind. He's just done the fastest lap of the race and has just gone nearly 2 seconds a lap quicker than Charles Leclerc last time around. Verstappen is in P3. He's 13 seconds behind as Hamilton is looking to really push Max Verstappen now. He's 2 tenths behind Verstappen here as this is the fight for the last podium position. He had a 5-second time penalty for a false start, Lewis Hamilton, which has hampered his race today, but he hasn't had the pace on compared to his teammate who has led from the front. as there is some lap traffic up ahead. Verstappen is having to contend with. He's probably getting the dirty air of the two Haas's up ahead. We'll stay on board with this battle for now. As you can see, the extra level of grip there that Hamilton had out of turn 4, out of the loop. He's going to be side by side with Max Verstappen, and Lewis Hamilton is in the lead for now. But will Max be able to come back at Lewis as they make their way into Brooklands? No, but we have seen Lewis overtake into Brooklands before. But will he be able to hold on to it into Copse Corner? Does Max have battery available to use to sweep back past Lewis Hamilton into Copse Corner? Of course, a famous corner for the pair. The history that is at this corner. And, well, we aren't going to see us. There's a yellow flag as Hulkenberg is off at Copse. Hulkenberg is up for Copse, and well, what is this going to do to the race? Could it nullify it? Are we going to see a safety car? Charles Leclerc has just passed the pit lane, as has Kimi Antonelli as well. Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton are making their way down the hangar straight now. Where is Hulkenberg's car's position? How is his car? Is it mechanical? Is it a crash for Nico Hulkenberg? Is he in a safe place? Single yellows for now. He's stopped. He's on the inside of the corner off track. It's a VSC! Oh, dearie me, it's Max pits! Max pits and Hamilton stays out. Hamilton out, stays out. Max pits and dearie me, what is this going to do for the race? What is this going to do for the race? Oh, is it going to be a full safety car? He's on the inside. Oh, I don't think it's a full safety car. I don't think it's a full safety car. It'll be a long, it could be a long VSC. But will any of them pit? George Russell has already pitted. Norris pits. Hadjar pits. They're going to be on fresh tyres. Hamilton, where does Verstappen come out? He's on brand new mediums with 14 laps remaining. Oh, this switches the race up entirely here for the podium, especially with Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, as Hamilton did not pit. As Charles Leclerc has said, he's been told to stay out. He's been told he's up. How long will this VSC last for? It's a very long circuit here, of course, unlike it was at the Red Bull Ring, unlike it was at Barcelona. It is a longer lap, and, well, how long is it going to stay out there? Will Leclerc be able to benefit from this? Will Anthony? No, the VSC is ending. The VSC is ending. So Max Verstappen is going to be on the charge here at the end. We're going to see Max Verstappen, just like he was in Austria, try and regain that P3 from Lewis Hamilton. It looked like it was going to be comfortable for Lewis to pull away from Max, but no. Verstappen on a brand new set of boots with a 13.5 second gap to Lewis Hamilton. A 12-second gap, actually, to Lewis Hamilton as he's making his way through lap traffic. Now is in the ascendancy and will have the grip and the time, the amount of laps to get P3 here, an unlikely P3, and steal it away from Lewis Hamilton. Deary me, but there could be more retirements, of course. And Audi retiring once again. An elusive first point. It was never on the cards today. It looked like for Hulkenberg, his first elusive point of the season still is yet to arrive for him. And, well, Audi have another retirement this year. I've lost how many times they have retired from the race. But, yes, Hulkenberg out of this race. I jinxed it, didn't I, guys, saying that we have yet to see any retirements yet. Well, yeah, Hulkenberg then retired a few laps later. Verstappen there. There we go. A fastest last sector for him on a fresh set of medium compound tyres of 24.964. And that gap is already down to 10.4 seconds. Max on the charge here. Could he get this podium? 13 laps remaining here. Lewis Hamilton having to try and get past Ollie Behrman. He has 16-lap-old hard compound tyres. And, well, I think it's probably Max Verstappen in the ascendancy here. A green first sector for him this time around as well on this first time lap on this set of medium compound tyres. But Charles Leclerc, update. He is leading by 4.2 seconds on Kimi Antonelli with 13 laps remaining. Antonelli has 10-lap younger tyres than that of Charles Leclerc, as they're both on the hard compound tyre. Lewis Hamilton served a 5-second time penalty for a false start at the start of this race, and he finds himself 15.9 seconds behind Antonelli, who is under 4 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Now, he's gaining every single corner, Antonelli, on the Monegasque in P1. Charles Leclerc looking for that first win at Silverstone. Never won at Silverstone, Charles Leclerc. Not ever been one of his strongest tracks. Hamilton trying to manage the pace here with a charging Max Verstappen, who is under 10 seconds now. Just over 9 seconds back from Max in P4. Russell, 4.7 seconds behind Max Verstappen in P5. Norris in P6. Russell, by the way, did have to pit earlier on due to a slow puncture. Hadjar in P7. Hadjar is in P8. He is 2.1 seconds ahead of Arvid Lindblad. It looks like Racing Bulls are going to be scoring their fourth consecutive race in a row where they've scored double points. They're in 8th and 9th. Bortoletto is in 10th. He's looking to try and chase down Arvid Lindblad, though. Colapinto is in 11th. He's up 8 positions. A great drive from him today, but he's going to fall well short of a point. But it's probably well-deserved for Colapinto, up 8 positions. Pierre Gasly is in P12. Sainz in P13. Piastri back up into P14 now after collecting damage at the start of this race. And due to that, had to pit very earlier on, and it's been a very lonely race for him. As Lance Stroll was getting track limits left, right, and centre, by the way. He's just had his 6th track limits offence. Lance Stroll is just driving off the track for the fun of it, and probably wants to break the record of the most amount of track limits violations that we've ever seen in Formula 1. Go on, Stroll. Get it. Do it for the memes. Behrman in 15th. Chase, who has just been overtaken by Oscar Piastri. He is 1.6 seconds ahead of his teammate with Ocon in 16th. Perez is 3 places up and ahead of Valtteri Bottas, 17th and 18th for the Caddies. Alonso and Stroll are in 19th and 20th. And Albon had a collision earlier on and was with Behrman, and he got a 10-second time penalty and is now in 21st with a numerous amount of pit stops today. Hulkenberg is our only retirement in P22. So Antonelli pits. Antonelli pits. Why? Is it a slow puncture for Antonelli? Has he had the same issue as what has happened with George Russell? But Antonelli is in the pit lane. Oh my goodness, is he retiring? Surely not, as Hamilton gets past Antonelli. Oh my goodness, what is happening? I'm waiting to see what has happened to Antonelli. I'm waiting to hear the radio. What has happened to Antonelli here as he's back out, as Antonelli is back out of the pits? Is it a His wheel's broken. His steering wheel is broken. Oh my goodness, how this has flipped this race on its head in the closing stages. Antonelli, his front wing is broken. His front wing is broken, apparently. Something broken. What has happened? What has happened? He doesn't know. She said steering wheel. They've changed the front wing. It's not very clear and concise information for Kimi Antonelli to Bono. He's asking for more information. They've replaced the front wing, I think, out of just kind of worry. But has he got a new steering wheel in the car? I'm not sure if he's put a new steering wheel in the car. But wow. Drama here at the end of this race as Charles Leclerc is now a 20-second lead ahead of Lewis Hamilton. And with 10 laps remaining, Lewis Hamilton could finish on the podium. It could be a 1-2 for Ferrari, and that massively impacts the championship standings. If Antonelli finishes in P6, and Hamilton finishes P2, there's just been a massive point swing in the other direction, as Antonelli would now be losing 10 points to Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis would find himself only 37 points behind Kimi Antonelli when he was looking like it was going to be over 50 points difference not too long ago. But Max Verstappen is on 4-lap old medium compound tyres. He's 7.5 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton and is chasing down that second place position. But Kimi Antonelli, it is his steering wheel. It is his steering wheel that is broken. It is his steering wheel that is broken, and they changed the front wing just to be sure, but Kimi Antonelli has a steering wheel issue, has just been overtaken by Isaac Hadjar. He is going to try and finish this race, but he's falling at a whole rate of knots through the field here. He is going to be swiftly overtaken by Lawson and Lindblad, the way that he's going. Antonelli, is this dangerous for Antonelli? Will the FIA, how will they look at this? The wheel shield apparently for Kimi Antonelli is not, there's an error there. But this is having dramatic impacts to this championship. That gap would now be 32 points to Lewis Hamilton if Lewis finishes in P2. We have 9 laps remaining here. Charles Leclerc leads by 20.9 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton, with Max Verstappen in P3, George Russell P4 with Norris in P5. But, if Antonelli falls through the field, do you do the unthinkable for Ferrari? I'm putting it out there. Do you do the unthinkable and tell Leclerc to slow down and let Hamilton win the race? My goodness, I mean, Ferrari of old, which Schumacher would have done, but I don't suspect they will. Of course, I don't suspect they will, Charles Leclerc fans, but I'm just saying, if you was if you was that sort of team principal, we've seen it in the past with teams. We would see it with Red Bull. You know you'd see it with Max Verstappen and his teammate. You know you would see it. It's unfair on Charles, of course it would be. However, there's a championship at stake. There is a championship at stake. As Antonelli is back in the pits. Antonelli is back in the pits. And could this be a retirement? Oh my goodness. It's this day has gone from bad to worse. He's got a track limits violation. A black and white flag. There is constant chatter on the radio about his steering wheel. He's going to have to come into the pits. But Kimi Antonelli just... Oh, another reliability concern. His steering wheel isn't even straight. It's like he's playing iRacing. His steering wheel isn't straight. It's at an angle. And, well, he's in the last point scoring position at the moment with Colapinto about to get past him. And Antonelli could be scoring no points here today. I doubt that for sure. But with 8 laps remaining, he has dropped from potentially winning this race only a couple of seconds behind Charles Leclerc, and Charles is about to lap Antonelli. This is the issues that Antonelli has had in the closing stages of this race. He is only going to be scoring 1 point, and that gap would be 30 points to Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Antonelli. And, well, if you was to swap Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, I'm just saying it, that gap would be 23 points as it stands. Deary me, within a race win difference. It's interesting to say the least, but Charles Leclerc has done very well to win this, to lead this race and potentially win this race as it stands. But Lewis Hamilton, P2, he's been closed down upon by Max Verstappen, but Max Verstappen needs to make up 6.6 seconds and overtake the Ferrari driver, one of the home favourite here with 8 laps remaining. Max Verstappen 6.5 seconds behind on mediums. George Russell is 5.1 seconds behind. He'll be gaining now on Kimi Antonelli by 11 points. We'll have a look at the championship standings when we come to the end of this race, of course. Do not dip off as Antonelli is in P10 and Colapinto is on the back of Kimi Antonelli. Antonelli still has issues here. Antonelli still has issues as Colapinto is closing the gap here, even though Antonelli is on considerably younger medium compound tyres. My goodness, how this championship has just completely swung the other direction, and how Antonelli looked like he was going to be putting another 2 race wins between himself and P2. It's now going to close down. Massive point swing as we see there Antonelli actually putting away from Gasly this time around. So maybe they've righted the ship there from Antonelli's perspective. But Charles Leclerc, P1, Hamilton P2, Verstappen still P3, 6.4 seconds behind Hamilton, pitted under that VSC. And, well, you just never know what's going to happen in Formula 1 these days, do you guys? Thank you for tuning in, by the way. 24,000 of you here in the stream. Hit that subscribe button if you can. Get to 90,000 subscribers. We'll be back in a few weeks' time, of course, for our next double header as we head to Spa, I think it is after this race weekend. Hungary and Spa before we then have the summer break. So Kimi Antonelli is in P10. If you can hit that like button as well, get this stream going. You get this stream to 5,000 likes. Go on, do it before the end of the race. That is for sure. But here we go. Charles Leclerc leads 20.9 seconds from Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen unable to really game. It's levelled out his performance as he used all of those soft compound tyres, as Verstappen only did a 32.8 last time around compared to Hamilton's 32.7. George Russell 33.1. He is 5.4 seconds ahead of behind Max Verstappen. He is 8.5 seconds ahead of Lando Norris in P5. And it looks like really the top 10 is going to finish as it is, as there's quite big gaps between them all. As Verstappen, yes, loses a bit of grip there out of Luffield as Antonelli is under investigation, by the way, for track limits violations. So Antonelli, it could, as it stands, could be finishing outside of the top 10. If he gets a 5-second time penalty and Colapinto stays within it because of track limits violations, then Antonelli will finish outside of the top 10. This race has completely flipped on its head. Silverstone maybe not provided the drama in relation to racing today, but the season as a whole, every single race, I feel like there is a story, there is something dramatic that is occurring. As it's a 5-second time penalty confirmed for Kimi Antonelli for track limits violation. So Kimi needs to finish ahead of Franco Colapinto by 5 seconds to ensure he scores a single point in this race today. My goodness me. Antonelli currently on 180 points compared to Hamilton on 150 as it stands. George Russell would be on 148, 2 points behind Hamilton, and he would be 32 points behind Kimi Antonelli. It looked like the gap was going to widen. It was going to increase and look ever more comfortable as we head into the approaching summer break. But Kimi Antonelli now has seen his championship lead completely flip on its head. He still has over a race win difference between himself and Lewis Hamilton, who would be P2 in the championship. Of course, will it finish that way? We will see with 6 laps remaining here. But Charles Leclerc, a great and stellar drive from him. Who would have thought that he would win this British Grand Prix here today? I'm not going to say it's commentator's curse. Of course, we still have 6 laps remaining, 5 laps remaining. Sorry, Charles Leclerc fans, as Lewis Hamilton is in P2. With a 5-second time penalty video occurred for a false start at the start of this race. Max Verstappen P3, George Russell P4, Norris P5, Hadjar P6, Lawson is in 7th with Lindblad in 8th, Bortoletto is in 9th, Antonelli, we know, has that 5-second time penalty, and really, it's all eyes on Antonelli and whether he can breach that 5-second gap to Colapinto to ensure he scores a single point, as there's a yellow in the last corner here. Is that Lewis Hamilton who's gone off there in the last corner? Why is there a yellow? Is something out on circuit as George Russell has gone ahead of Max Verstappen? As Max Verstappen's off! What has happened to Max? He was in P3 and now Max has come to a standstill in Stowe corner. Oh my God, it's a double yellow. There's a safety car deployed. Oh my goodness. This British Grand Prix is not over and done with yet, but if your name is Kimi Antonelli, is this an opportunity or is this a detriment? Because if the field is bunched up, enough here, and he only finishes P10, he will comfortably finish he'll get demoted with that 5-second time penalty, but he may be able to serve it now. Kimi will have to serve. If he pits now, Kimi will have to serve this 5-second time penalty. But Verstappen is off. He's into the gravel. Oh, it's an error from Max Verstappen. What did he do? Gravel up in the air. He's lost rear performance and he's off at Stowe corner, Max Verstappen, which is why the safety car has been deployed. He spun at Stowe corner last year, and well, he's spun again, but in dry conditions. And Max Verstappen, what has happened that in front of the Lando stand, 16,000 Lando Norris fans in brighter luminous yellow are standing to their feet, watching Max Verstappen get out of his stricken Red Bull. And what is that going to do to proceedings here? It promotes Colapinto up into P10. It promotes Antonelli up into P9. He will score 2 singular points here. Charles Leclerc pits. Hamilton undoubtedly is going to pit as well. And everyone will pit here for a fresh set of boots. We're going to have a stellar end to this Silverstone Grand Prix, I do presume. They'll swiftly get rid of that car. Or will they? Will there be enough time to get rid of Max Verstappen's car? Or will this race end under a safety car conditions? And well, if you're Kimi Antonelli, this race ending under safety car conditions is not what you want. If it is a safety car ending, then well, the field will be bunched up and he will finish outside of the points undoubtedly here, as we saw George Russell do in Monaco, if you remember. So let's see what is going to happen. But will there be a red flag? Will they red flag this and do a standing start with a few laps remaining? But Charles Leclerc is in P1 with Lewis Hamilton in P2 with George Russell about to come out. Is he going to get out ahead of Lewis Hamilton here? Lewis Hamilton and George Russell racing to the line. And George Russell is ahead of Lewis Hamilton. George Russell stays out and is going to try and hold on to a track position here. And George Russell with that would be in P2. Deary me, why did Mercedes not pit? Well, maybe it's because they think this race is going to end under the safety car. Mercedes are gambling that this race is going to end under the safety car. And if so, George Russell would finish P2. He'd be in 18th. He would be in second place compared to P3 where he was just only a moment ago. Bold decision. Bold decision here for Mercedes. Will it pay off for them? Will there be a red flag? I'm not sure, but what is going to happen? What is going to happen here? Kimi Antonelli is in P9, of course. The safety car is going to bunch this field up. Are they going to red flag this? I'm not so sure what is going to happen here. But Lewis Hamilton has just lost a place to George Russell, who didn't come into the pit lane. My goodness, guys. If you are enjoying this race and this live and this watch along, hit this like and subscribe button, by the way. Much appreciated. Everyone tuning in right now. If we can get this going, there's 1,000 of you in here who haven't hit that subscribe button right now. Come on, hit that subscribe. Oh, wow. Max Verstappen watching the replay again. Oh, Max, I'm stuck, mate. Bleep, this car is bleep. Unbelievable. Bleep this. Max not happy whatsoever. He locked up into Stowe corner. The rear wiggled on him, and then he couldn't save it. So they are swiftly removing that car. I think we're going to... Well, the thing is, though, that everyone's got to bunch up. Hamilton has been noted for a yellow flag infringement as well. Oh, dearie me. What is going on at the end of this race? What is going on at the end of this race? Lewis Hamilton noted for a yellow flag infringement. We'll see whether that is the case or not. Whether Lewis will be... My God, what is going to happen here? But the thing is that they have to bunch up the field. They have to bunch up the field, and you look at how the field are so bunched up right now. I think this race is ended under safety car. I really do. With the length of this track, they got to let cars unlap themselves. This race is ended under safety car, and I think Ferrari have balls this up, guys. I think Ferrari have balls this up, and George Russell will finish ahead of Lewis Hamilton. How have Ferrari not understood this? How have they not understood this? Charles Leclerc made sense. He was in the lead. He had plenty of time. But Hamilton in the pit stop there, maybe expected George Russell and Mercedes to pit, and George has just got a freebie. This is very, very interesting. We'll have a look at the permutations of the championship when this race does come to an end. But this race is not going to get underway. We have 3 laps remaining. We have 2 laps remaining after this. There isn't going to be a single lap of racing, is there? That is what we are looking at right now. That is the state of affairs. Charles Leclerc is P1. George Russell is P2. Hamilton P3. Norris P4. Hadjar P5. Lawson P6. Lindblad P7. Bortoletto P8. Antonelli is P9 and could not be scoring any, potentially not scoring any points today. Antonelli saying that it's a joke that he's been given a 5-second time penalty for track limits. And, well, Antonelli is going to end up finishing outside of the points here. Because they're going to... Safety car is going to bunch these cars up. That is for sure. They're going to let the cars... Remember, they have to let the cars unlap themselves. Deary me. Deary me. I think this is ending under safety car, guys. Thank you for everyone for tuning in, by the way. We aren't even going to get a race. We're not. This isn't getting underway again. We are not getting this race underway again. Max might have assisted George here. I know. Lap cars will not be unlapped. Yeah. It's 2021 all over again. Gasly is taking his time. Ferrari have absolutely messed this up. Absolutely messed this up, of course. Deary me, deary me. Lewis is on the radio saying safety car needs to come in. Lap cars may now overtake the safety car. Are we going to get one lap? Are we going to get one lap? This is what's going to happen. Safety car is... This is the slowest you're ever going to see a safety car go this lap. And it could provide a very, very interesting end to this race. If they are going to get one single lap of racing here... This is going to be very, very interesting because the safety car is going to go so slow that these drivers will not be able to get sufficient temperature into their tyres, and this could be very, very chaotic of a last lap at Silverstone. This is very, very, very interesting set of circumstances here. Of course. Oh, how is this going to play out? We could see some investigations here for safety car infringements for drivers and the 10-car distance. Remember, they have to maintain from the car in front because they will want to have as much room as possible to warm up their tyres. Deary me, I think this race is going to have one lap of racing. I feel like I'm back in 2021. This could have big implications in the championship come the end of the year. Of course, I don't want to go over all ground. We know what happened in 2021 and how important that safety car was. And, well, how important could this single lap of racing be? But I think we're about to see. They've cleared the lap cars. And, well, are we going to get one lap of racing here at Silverstone? Mercedes have gambled and kept George Russell out on the tyres. hoping for the safety car to end this race. And safety car is in this lap, ladies and gents. Safety car is in this lap. Safety car in this lap. Buckle in. Buckle in. Let's have a run through of your current grid. Charles Leclerc is P1 with George Russell in P2, but he's on mediums. He's on considerably used mediums. Lewis Hamilton pitted for softs. Lando, could he snatch a podium here with 1 lap of racing remaining? Isaac Hadjar in P5. Lawson is up 4 places in P6. Lindblad 7. Bortoletto 8th. And importantly, Antonelli is on mediums also. And he has a 5-second time penalty as well. He could be scoring no points today. As Gasly is in P11, Piastri is in P12, a safety car is in, and we are about to go racing. Oh, it's deployed! It's deployed! The race is going to end under safety car conditions. The safety car is staying out, and we will have this race end under safety car. A last-second decision by race control to end this race under safety car, and Charles Leclerc will win this race with George Russell in second, as Lewis Hamilton will be fuming. And Kimi was not going to score any points here today. We will have a look at the Drivers' Championship in just a moment. I thought we were going to get going again, but the safety car, they have said no. Race control said no, we are not having one more lap of racing here, and Charles Leclerc is going to win this race. George Russell, Mercedes have pulled a blinder for George Russell. He is going to steal a P2 here today, away from Ferrari, and finish 18 points ahead of his teammate again, as Antonelli will finish outside of the points because he has a 5-second time penalty for track limits violations. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. We will hear the controversy. The controversy. Is it right? Is it wrong? I actually don't know what the safety car... rules are now these days, since the 2021 debacle, of course. So this potentially is the right decision. I don't know. We have to review it. We have to review it. But dearie me, Ferrari have balls this up. Ferrari have balls this up, that is to say the least. But Charles Leclerc is going to win the British Grand Prix for the first time. I don't think I could any possible way jinx it now. Charles Leclerc is going to win the British Grand Prix in tremendous fashion, as they're going to go through the pit lane. Apparently they're going to go through the pit lane. Why are they going through the pit lane? That's odd. Not sure why they're going through the pit lane. But wow. Well, I'm going to do driver of the day poll. I'm going to do those 3 for driver of the day. Get your votes in of who you think driver of the day is. But as the safety car peels into the pit lane, and unfortunately the British Grand Prix ends on a bit of a whimper, but in a dramatic fashion, as Charles Leclerc wins the British Grand Prix, his first time winning at Silverstone after a very poor run of form. How needed it was for the Monegascan George Russell. Mercedes have... Well, on one side of the garage, it has gone completely wrong. George Russell finishes P2 after staying out and not pitting under the safety car. They gambled and they've snatched a P2 away from Lewis Hamilton, who finishes in P3. And well, we'll have a look at the permutations of the Drivers' Championship, because Kimi Antonelli, I'm going to jump straight to him because it looked like he was going to win this race today. He was 2 seconds behind Charles Leclerc when it all went wrong, and then including a wheel issue. Him pitting and losing a whole heap of time. He received a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, and he is now, with this safety car finish, scoring no points today. George Russell P2, Hamilton P3, Norris P4, Hadjar P5, Lawson P6, Lindblad P7. Another double point scoring finish for VCarb and for Liam Lawson, and again continuing that run of form. But he's definitely one of the best drivers on the grid at the moment for point scoring, that is for sure. Harvey Lindblad in P7, scoring points at his first race at home. Great for him, the only rookie on the grid. Bortoletto scores great points. Double points for Alpine. A brilliant drive from Colapinto, up 10 places. Hamilton will be noted for yellow flag infringement after the race. Piastri P11, Sainz P12, Behrman P13, Ocon 14th, Perez 15th. We just mentioned Kimi Antonelli, Bottas 17th, Alonso 18th, Stroll 19th. The Aston Martins both won the race. Verstappen, a retirement for him. Albon 21st, Hulkenberg 22nd. Verstappen's incident caused this late drama in the safety car. And, well, what does that do to your Drivers' Championship? Kimi Antonelli, who looked like he was going to get 25 points, scores 0. Nil points. He is on 179 points compared to George Russell, who is now 20, is that 25 points behind? 18 points gained, 54, 25 points behind. George Russell is now within 1 race win of Kimi Antonelli. Deary me. Lewis Hamilton, 15 points rather than 18. He is on 32 points behind Kimi Antonelli. How this championship has just flipped on its head. Charles Leclerc with his first 25 points of the season. He's up into P4 and 108 points. Charles Leclerc championship? Maybe. But he is considerably still behind Kimi Antonelli, as he is 71 points behind. Lando Norris is P5, Oscar Piastri P6, Max Verstappen no points for him. Hadjar stays P8, Gasly is P9. Lindblad moves up 2 places into P11 now. He's on 20 points. Liam Lawson 8 points for him. He's 30 on 39 and 3 points behind Pierre Gasly now. Behrman down into P12. We have Colapinto 13th, Bortoletto 14th. And then look at the championship standings in the Constructors. Ferrari gained a whole heap of points there on Mercedes. 40 points to 18, 255 to 333. That's less than 100 points now, where it was 100 points before this race. McLaren staying around there, 12 points for them. Red Bull losing points, importantly, from Max Verstappen. Racing Bulls closing that gap to Alpine. Only 1 point behind Alpine now in the Constructors Championship. Audi score 4 points there, as they are now on 6 points, and no points for Cadillac and Aston Martin still. So there we go. What a race, eh? What a race. Jeez. Wow. Driver of your day. Driver of the day is overwhelmingly Charles Leclerc, 85% of the vote. But Ferrari. On one side of the garage, brilliant. Charles Leclerc, credit where it's due, undoubtedly driver of the day. On the back foot this weekend, headed into this weekend. On the back foot after Friday and Saturday morning. But then really nailed it Saturday afternoon with qualifying and the race as well. Lewis Hamilton, even though he's on the podium, he will not be happy about how his race unfolded today. He expected more, and well, he importantly has lost 3 points on Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. He should be second in the championship right now. Kimi Antonelli, of course, will be absolutely devastated. He did really nothing wrong today. He did nothing wrong this weekend, as he has his head in his hands there as he's in Parc Ferme, as he parks up his Mercedes. Mechanical issues again for Mercedes, but not in the area we have seen. On the steering wheel, causing issues. The steering wheel was at an angle, and well, he has ended up scoring no points today with that issue, picking up too many track limits violations, and now he scores no points because of that track limits violation. 5 points, safety car finishing down in 16th. My. This championship. It was a little bit boring, to be fair. It's the most boring Silverstone race I've experienced for quite some time. So, yeah, Reg's not faring very well at this circuit, which is a shame. But Lewis's car, yeah, those changes he made to that car, definitely wrong. Do we know, when will we know when Lewis gets a penalty? In probably a couple of hours' time, when they go to the stewards, when they eventually go to the stewards. So, yeah. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, by the way. Hit that like and subscribe button. There's still 8,000 of you here in the stream, so hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Lewis had yellow flag. If it's 5 seconds, Lewis will be out of the points. He would, yeah. If Lewis gets a 5-second time penalty, he finishes outside the points. That could be massive. That could be absolutely massive, by the way, guys. FIA broke their own rules in Abu Dhabi 21. They did something very similar here, only this time it's legal. Do you know what? So the rules do state, as far as what I looked at last time around, the rules do state, but by the way, do you want to see how, just before I do that, do you want to see how many track limits violations Lance Stroll got? Lance Stroll spent more time off of the race circuit than he did on it. Yeah, Kimi will be devastated. Absolutely devastated. But in relation to the safety car rules, well, the rules used to be, that, look, you have to let all lap cars unlap themselves. They then have to catch up to the back of the pack. And then once they've catched up, you then have to do another lap once they've caught up to then restart the race. And I presume that's what happened today. I was thinking it. I mean, yeah, I was thinking it. I was like, if that's the rule that they're abiding by, then they've done the right thing today. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the rule is now these days. The FIA kind of do what they want, don't they? So here are the championship standings again, by the way, guys. As it stands provisionally, this is the provisional standings. So we will see what happens with them. But I hope you've enjoyed the stream today, guys. I know my voice, it sounded like my voice did break a little bit earlier on. So yeah, thank you for bearing with. I just want to see what people are saying online at the moment to see with the safety car. Oh, so apparently Merck ripped off the wheel fairing in his first stop, in Antonelli's first stop. So was it Antonelli? Was it actually an issue? Was it Mercedes' issue? Was it? I'm waiting to see actually. Hang on. Was it really? They ripped it off on the second pit stop. Oh, they ripped off on the second pit stop, not the first then. Okay. Oh, dearie me, dearie me. The Racing Bulls have been putting out their wall when they're together and scoring points consistently. Yeah, they've been very good. The FIA is anti-Lewis. The FIA could have started the race in the last lap, and Lewis had the advantage of the tyres on George. And let's not go back to 2021. We all know what FIA did to Lewis. Well, look, I don't know what the rules are. I want the rules to be followed. And look, yeah, it sucks for Lewis. Ultimately, it's Ferrari's issue. Ferrari should have seen, well, is there enough time here for the race to get back underway? Mercedes, yeah, did kind of roll the dice and gambled it, I guess. Then also, you could say they definitely made the right decision and had the foresight to see that this race isn't going to get underway. So why would we pit? Why would we pit him? So yeah, it's. I mean, where Max was, I was like, gravel, 4 laps remaining. That seems like it's going to be tight, especially with how many lap cars there are as well. Yeah. Do I think Lewis would have won without the setup changes? I don't know. How long's a piece of string? I think he would have fared much better. Maybe. Difficult to know. You don't know what setup changes he made. George said his tyres were stone cold if it was going to restart. Oh, yeah. Well, I said that myself, didn't I? I said if this race gets back underway, this is going to be a very, very interesting race start because he's on mediums, Antonelli's on mediums, and even the soft runners. But, I mean, the softs will be able to get temperature into their tyres quicker and more so than that of the mediums. So George would have been eaten alive, and who knows where he could have finished. But now he is sitting in second place, and that gap is now 25 points to his teammate. He now has just one DNF separating him and a race win separating him and his teammate. How earlier on when Kimi was winning, Kimi was going to extend his championship lead back to over 50 points. Now it is at 1 race win difference. That is how things can change. Sainz being investigated for noting for a safety car infringement. So he is noted for a safety car infringement. So we'll see. Lewis still seems a bit happy. But yeah. But yeah. George is next up a DNF. Well, the way it's going at the moment, and Ferrari, their reliability, Ferrari could win this championship purely through reliability. Like, Hamilton keeps picking up podiums, keep picking up points. I know people will say, oh, well, Charles is now back in this championship. I don't think he is. I don't think Charles is in this championship, to be honest with you. He did very well. He did very well here this weekend in Silverstone. But I don't know. I still think that Charles, I mean, unless he does massively turn it around, but I just don't still see him really getting in this with how far he is behind at the moment. There were boos, TV coverage, science. Of course, look, there's always going to be boos. No one wants to see a race finish under a safety car, but those are the rules sometimes. Sometimes you get a 0-0 draw. That's how it is. Sometimes you get an absolute whitewash in tennis or cricket or whatever. Like, not every race is going to finish in dramatic fashion. I mean, it did end in dramatic fashion, but not in the way that we wanted, really. Like, you want to see racing, but yeah. Max was running out of grip using a sauce. Red Bull, RB, and Max rolled the dice and didn't pay off. It was mediums, actually. But yeah, he had... I reckon what happened is that there was... I reckon... And we've seen it here this weekend at Silverstone. The wind really picked up. I reckon what happened is that the wind picked up and he caught a gust of wind. That lost the rears. He locked up and he tried to save it. And obviously he didn't have enough and he sent it around. Should it have been a red flag? For entertainment purposes, you could say yes. But I think they've learned their lesson before that a red flag, i.e. Australia and stuff, is a bit much. With people going for, like, seeing a last dash opportunity to go for extra positions. I don't think so. I don't think it should have been a red flag, but red flag would have been for entertainment. And then you would have had the conversations and the discussions of going, oh, but is this NASCAR? All they do is throw a red flag at the end to create entertainment. And yes, of course, it's a business at the same time, but yeah. But yeah, but I do think, I don't know what the safety car rules are. This is the thing. So if the rules state via safety car procedure that they are allowed to, once the lap cars have unlapped themselves, or all lap cars have unlapped themselves, have gone past the safety car, then they should be out, and then they can get racing again. Then that race should have got underway. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if what the rule is under the safety car. So look, I'm just sad that they said it was coming in and gave us full sub. Yeah, I don't know why they made a last second decision. They made a last second decision to keep the safety car out there. I'm sure they'll explain it. So race so chaotic. I didn't even realize it's at 87k. Am I? Oh yeah. 87.2. I think we've got 1,000 subs that stream. Thank you, everyone. Continue to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. We're at 2,600 likes, so thank you. Any disappointment for the last lap would have been chaos and more incidents would have occurred. Well, this is it, isn't it, I guess. Maybe they didn't want that, but if the FIA have done it purely just for that reason, I mean, they've altered the rules on the fly, haven't they? But I guess we will get clarity. We will 100% get clarity on it. Apparently the radio told Kimi to pit to retire the car, but Kimi said that he'd try for one more just to get a point. Sadly, it was the lap where he would get a 5-second penalty. Yeah. I mean, his steering wheel was at an angle. So if you look at the onboard footage back, you'll see images of it online. So Ferrari Constructors Champions, I mean, they're staying within touching distance. And it's the same with Lewis in this championship as well. If you look at the championship standings, he's within touching distance. He's 30. I mean, if Ferrari were ruthless, if they were ruthless, as they have been in the past with Schumacher and stuff, as Red Bull have been with Max Verstappen, if they were ruthless, they would have told Charles to give that position to Hamilton. I don't think Charles would have done that, but like they would have implemented that, and they would have like given Hamilton the win. He would be 10 points closer now, and he'd be within a race win of Antonelli. That's a big point swing. Whereas now he's still outside that point swing. So if Lewis, I think, yeah, but Charles won and he justifiably deserved to win. But yeah, if this was Ferrari of old, if this was Red Bull, I think you know what they would have said. Do I think Lewis could have had a chance to win if the strategy was on the spot? No. His pace was off today compared to Charles. Charles definitely had the pace on Hamilton. Whatever Lewis did to that car in setup changes overnight, it backfired. It had the complete opposite effect. I don't know what he did, to be honest with you. It wasn't good. It wasn't good because he was kind of a shell of himself. Of course, the 5 second time, the 5 second stop penalty, like the 5 second penalty, was wrong. Why does he always mess with the setup? I don't know. He's trying to chase performance, isn't he? Always trying to chase performance. I guess because he's looking at Antonelli and he was like, I need to beat that Mercedes. I need to beat Antonelli, and it is the mindset of a champion, always trying to find more and more time. But yeah, we've seen it obviously a lot more in the past few years where he's made changes to the car when it's been in a good place, and then not do the opposite effect. What is the yellow flag infringement? I don't know. It will be when the yellow flag first came out, I think, it's when the yellow flag first came out for Max Verstappen. I'm not so sure the yellow flag will be... that the yellow flag infringement will be anything sufficient. Like, I don't know what it possibly could be. Maybe it's a yellow flag infringement because he was in the pit lane and he decided to pit. I think that's when it came out, so I don't know. Imagine when Ferrari bring their second duo engine, we thought they would be way off this weekend. Yeah, but in fairness, though, Antonelli was going to comfortably catch and overtake Leclerc until he had that mechanical issue. So from a performance perspective, he would have ended up winning that race, Antonelli, quite comfortably with the offset. After seeing the footage, Red Bull's extra design rear wing closed too late, and it caused Max to crash out, not driver error. I didn't think it was driver error. That makes sense. Loss of downforce there. I thought maybe it could be a crosswind that you get through Stowe, because Stowe is a very high loaded corner. The weight of the car is very much on the left side. So if you get a big crosswind there, which you can get, like we saw with Maggots and Beckett's yesterday with Colapinto, that can really unsettle the car, and especially if you're on the limit of grip, which he was. But yeah, maybe the rear wing didn't close soon enough, and there is talk about the FIA. There's rumours of them banning the Macarena wing for next year, the flip flap wing, because of this concern. Lewis had a big moment, didn't he, as well, with active aero in turn 9. Max here potentially as well. So the safety car can't go in the same lap. Lap cars unlap themselves, right? I think that's why they changed the decision and had it out again. Well, this is it, Cheek. I think that is it. I think it is a case of... I think the rule is... The last safety car rule that I'm aware of is that once lap cars unlap themselves, there then has to be another lap for the safety car to stay out, to give enough of a gap for the safety car, for the lap cars to put themselves between the safety car, and then it goes again. So really, we needed one more lap in the race. That's basically it. And then the rules would have been adhered to, and then we'd have had one lap of racing. But we had one lap too few in the race. So if Max crashed a lap earlier, we would have had one lap racing as per the rules. That's how I understand it, interpret it, but the rules could be different. Might be the only one, but I want Lawson to finish ahead of Lindblad in the World Drivers' Championship. I like Lawson. I'm really growing fond of Lawson. Look, what a drive again today. Sixth place. Like, yeah, he was going to finish in the points comfortably anyway, and he's benefited from, of course, some retirements and issues. And that's his 4th race now in a row, 5th race in a row where he scored points, including sprint race. I think maybe 6th race. Silverstone, Aaron. Silverstone is too big to adhere to that safety car rule. It's a shame, but it is what it is. I agree. Yeah, I do agree. Because at a smaller circuit, that rule makes sense, doesn't it? But a circuit like this, you saw the safety car was going slow enough, and by the time the race was about to restart, there was more than half a lap's difference, or there was half a lap between Charles Leclerc, or the safety car, and Pierre, or the last lap car, wasn't there? So there was sufficient amount of time, especially with like one lap remaining. There was sufficient time for that to happen, but Yeah, those are the rules, isn't it? So unless they make it kind of track specific, or they kind of flesh out those rules maybe a bit more. In situations like this, instances like this, but make them reassess those rules and put amendments to them. MBS on the podium. Get off my TV screen. Get off. I don't want to see you. By the way, how much the Pirelli cap... Here we go. We're going to play a guessing game. That Pirelli cap that they've got awarded on the podium, how much do you think that was being sold for at Silverstone? How much? For a hat. Let me know in the chat now. How much do you think it was? How much do you think it was? Lewis penalty isn't confirmed yet. No confirmation. It's going to be investigated after the session, so we won't know until probably an hour or so. 200. Be sensible, guys. 150. I'm talking pounds, by the way. English, Great British pounds. 169, 120, 150, 20 pounds, $150, 460 Great British pounds. So it was. I mean, you guys know F1 stuff is expensive, so yeah, you're actually coming in a bit higher. But it was £100, 100 British pounds. So I don't know what that is in dollars. Probably about 130, 140, something like that. £100 for a hat, for a cap. Utterly ridiculous. You may think that's on the low end, but too much. Too much. Every cap at the cheapest hat you could buy was £60. They range from 60 to £100. So yeah, wild. James, sorry if you missed it. To rub it in, I thought you was going to be at the race. No. I was only there Friday, but unbelievable. What a day to be there. Why did Lewis pit? Sorry if it's obvious, but even if they didn't know it would end on a safety car, staying out a couple of seconds ahead of George would have been better than 3 to 4 laps left. No, this is it. This is it. Look, it's always more difficult when you're ahead, but to respond, just like Hamilton, and it was difficult for Mercedes ahead to give up track position when it came. I mean, then again, they were ahead, weren't they? Why did they give up track position? I mean, you could argue, couldn't you? You could argue, just like it was in 2021. I know we have to go back to this, but the reason Lewis and Mercedes didn't pit is because they expected, of course, the race to finish under safety car conditions. And giving up track position would have been ridiculous. Whereas in this scenario, they should have stayed out expecting the race to end exactly the same way, under safety car conditions. And if it got restarted, then you say, whoa, why did it get restarted? But to pit under SOS, knowing that they could give up a free position, was too risky, and it's just ended up with Lewis looking at the back of the Mercedes rear wing when he shouldn't have seen that. So, yeah, Ferrari have cost Lewis there an important 3 points, but could make a big difference in the championship. He is now 25 points, not 25 points, that's George, 25 points behind Antonelli. He is now, as you see here, 32 points behind Antonelli, rather than being 29 points behind Antonelli. I think my maths is correct there. Is that right? 32 points. Ferrari botched that for Hamilton. Hamilton's a cool customer, though. He's a pro. Yeah, and he won't be happy. Hamilton is old enough and wise enough to know not to air his frustrations too much on the radio. He may be a bit more aggressive and a bit more angry and frustrated in the post race briefing. It was a fun battle between Lewis, Max, and Russell. It's a shame that Russell... I mean, then again, like Russell, you could say, look, justified maybe to finish on the podium. Justification for him because he did have more bad luck, didn't he? He had that puncture, that soft puncture that caused him to pit. And because he was caused to pit, it removed him any opportunity of fighting for a podium, which he probably would have got. Well, he would have been fighting with Lewis for it, and he didn't. He was robbed of that opportunity. So I guess really, yeah, like justification for Russell, but not. He wasn't. His performance today didn't better Lewis's. So in that sense, Yeah. But for Kimi, his two championship rivals have ended up on the podium. The only positive for Kimi, really, out of this is that neither of them won the race today. Neither of them picked up 25 points. Plus, Lewis knows bigger picture. Kimi scored no points, so on to the next one. Exactly. And he's chipping away. Just chipping away. And that's all you need to do. And I still think, look, there's going to be a point in this season where Antonelli and Russell collide. There's going to be. They can't not collide, right, at some point this season. I know Kimi's the quicker car at the moment, but a quicker driver. But, like, surely they're going to collide at some point. And, like, that's when you need to be there to sweep up the points. Lewis is furious he didn't speak in the cooldown room. Yeah, I imagine. It was a... Lewis won't be happy about that race. Yes, he's on the podium. It's his the 16th time he's ended up on the podium at Silverstone. And he will not be happy about finishing third because his race pace today was well behind his teammate at his circuit. It's his circuit. This is his stomping ground. He will not be happy about that. So he'll be unhappy about that and the changes he made to the setup that had a negative impact on him. And he will not be happy about the decision Ferrari made to pit him there earlier in the race as well. Bearing in mind they told him to pit earlier on in the race because of, he said his tyres were okay, he wanted to go longer, and they pitted him early, so he wasn't happy then, and he won't be happy about that decision as well to pit under the safety car and lose P2 from absolutely nothing. Pressure will be Mercedes undoing towards the claimed end of the season. Yeah, Mercedes are under pressure now, man. They're throwing away points. Absolutely throwing away points. Not sure if it's going to be this season, but you think a collision is inevitable between Russell and Antonelli. I think it will be this season. Would 25 lap old hards would not have more grip than 24 lap old mediums? They theoretically should. Yes, Zealot. They should have, because they're more durable, they're longer lasting. 25 lap old hards should theoretically have, at that stage, more level of grip than the mediums. But there we go. Positive for Kimi is that, number one, no one seems to have an answer for his pace. Yes, exactly. So when the car is working, and he still has a 25-point lead over George Russell. We head to, next time around, we head to Spa. Let's be real. Spa is a Mercedes track. That is the biggest Mercedes track on the calendar, with probably Monza. You are on full throttle for the most amount of time around a lap, around any lap on the calendar. So they are going to dominate at Spa, unless we get rain. We're still yet to see a wet race this season. Maybe rain will play a factor, and that will be the great nullifier. Which is always a possibility at Spa. I'm not going to look at the weather report 2 weeks ahead, but Spa is more intermittent weather than it is in the UK. So that is something to take into consideration. But if it's dry, it's going to be such an easy race and probably a boring race for Mercedes because it's all about power. It's all about how quick you are in a straight line, basically, on full throttle. So yeah, he could extend that lead again next race. Hungary is a bit more different. You'd expect Ferrari to be a lot closer in performance there, and that the order maybe to be a bit more shaken up before we head to the summer break. Spa or Hungary, we'll see perspiration in the air. I think Spa, definitely. Hungary, yeah, there's always possibility in Hungary as well. Hungary's either really hot, like dramatically hot, or it's raining, isn't it? Maskill, great commentary, mate. Great drama and racing today. Script has been flipped. If the Silver Arrows have continuing reliability issues, then Ferrari will win. Next race will be in Tellin. Yeah, that's the thing. They're the quickest car at the moment, and Ferrari, there's going to be races where Ferrari are able to compete with them. Look, Mercedes was still the quickest car today. Without the reliability issues, Antonelli's winning that race today. Like, comfortably. He would have caught and overtaken Charles Leclerc. But they are putting themselves in positions, Ferrari, to reap the misfortune and reap the points that Mercedes are just throwing away. So that is going to be essential this season. Ferrari are not really the only top team this year that aren't having reliability issues. So yes, they might not be the quickest, but they've built a reliable car. And that is going to be massively important come the end of the year. We could be sitting there at the end of the year just going, if only Mercedes could finish every single race. Imagine how many, like, it would have been an easy championship for them. But alas, it's not at the moment, is it? So, but yeah, overall, the race itself, I am going to rate it quite low. I am a Silverstone stan. I love this track. You know I love this track. However, these new regs, the way that these engines operate at the moment, look, of course, I do my commentary. I type things up within reason. I'm excited when I see Verstappen and Hamilton going side by side into corners and stuff, and George Russell and Hamilton trading positions. I'm excited because I'm an F1 fan and I want to see racing. However, yes, it is a bit farcical that Russell could just breeze back past Hamilton because he has the battery in use, because Hamilton's run out of battery. Like we know this track, unfortunately, and these sort of tracks where there's not enough hard braking zones, or not enough braking zones, just re-emphasizes the what's the right word? How poor basically these regulations are and how wrong they are, because we should see these drivers be on the limit through Maggots and Beckett's, through Cops. We shouldn't see them as opportunities for charging the battery and lifting and coasting through there. And ultimately, Silverstone is a track where, yes, of course it's power related, and there's always going to be emphasis on your machinery. But this is a track where drivers, and yes, Lewis made the difference this weekend, but this is a track where drivers are the key factor here. Drivers make the difference. It's about their braking ability into the three hard braking zones that we have here, how good they are on the brakes and how good they are for the corners and their commitment for the corners. And yeah, we were remit of that this weekend, really. Like I said, I was trackside Friday, and it looked like there was on the limit, like Brooklands and Nuffield was a good section of corners to see the cars on the limit. But the rest of the track, yeah, it was all about battery, wasn't it? So Brundle reading rules, so basically ridiculous decision to finish under safety car. They could have done one lap. Could they? I missed that. Notice how Leclerc won here because it was heavily dependent on the driver's skill. Yeah. Well, yeah, look, they set up the car in a particular way. And Leclerc made massive improvements. He out-qualified Lewis in quali, and he made the right changes to his car that bred confidence in him, whereas Lewis made the wrong changes to the car that weakened his confidence. And I thought, you know what, yeah, I did subscribe to the fact maybe Lewis has sacrificed some single lap pace so that he could maybe not lean on the tyres so much because of what they'd seen in the sprint race, but clearly they were chasing performance and they made the wrong decisions, and he didn't have an answer to Charles's pace here, and Charles will take a big boost of confidence out of this weekend by beating Hamilton as comfortably as he did in the qualifying and the race, because yeah, said before, this is Lewis's stomping ground. He owns this place, and Charles has just come here and off the back of such a poor run of performances won here. So yeah, credit to Charles. Thank you, Frank. Speed traps, why do you want speed traps? It's not like the speed traps are going to be a bit pointless because you've got slipstreams and so forth. There you go. Let's see what the so Chris Medland, who obviously I trust, has said oh, Hamilton has been summoned to Hamilton has been summoned to the stewards. He's in the stewards right now. Hamilton is with the stewards right now, guys. So we will find out swiftly whether or not he is going to get a penalty. What? Trying to find, guys. I hope this makes Hamilton even more determined to perform next races. Yeah, I think so. I think he will. Look, he still had a good weekend, Lewis, when you think about it. He still had a positive weekend and a competitive weekend. He will just rue the changes that he made on the car overnight. They had a negative impact on him, whereas he should have probably kept the car in the same window as it was before. Sound, you are embarrassed for your country. British organisational ineptitude on full display. It should have been their very highest priority not to end that race that way. Yes, it should have been. If it's within the rules for that race to have finished under green flag conditions, then yes, 100% they should have finished it under green flag. Because unless it is the rule that I stated, where of course they needed to wait an extra lap after the cars are told they're able to unlap themselves to then get underway again, then yes, we just had one lap too short in this race for that to happen. But where am I going with this? But if that's not the case, then yeah, they need to be pulled over the coals to it. Can we talk about the fact that F1 needs battery data on screen? We have no idea what's going on during overtakes. This season is not looking good at all. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. It's the one thing I requested. Not that they listen to me anyway. Anyone listens to me. It's the one thing I requested at the start of the season was I really, really hope that we just get a simple battery graphic that shows us how like a little battery that goes up and down to enable us to know what sort of battery levels the drivers have. We don't have that. We have something that is not even accurate. Something that is guesswork on the TV coverage. It's only ever shown on onboards as well. And it does make things difficult. And that's the thing, it makes me difficult for commentating. Of course, some people may think, oh, you're just hyping it up. It's just battery stuff. Yeah, but what else can I do? I don't know what's battery. I don't know what. It's guesswork. And you listen to the broadcast as well. They're in the same position as I am. Like they have to kind of, it's guesswork as to what is a battery overtake, how much emphasis there is on the battery, and what is kind of driver ability. You know, it's just very difficult for them. And I don't hold, like, I know obviously there's been criticisms about the commentary this year from Sky Sports and stuff, but like they're in a rock and a hard place as well. And they have the TV images, of course, that they're obviously live broadcasting on, and that's why they have to make mention of it so often. But it is guesswork. It's massive guesswork, and it's frustrating, massively frustrating. I think if you put my point is, just like it was at the start of the season, if you're going to have such a large emphasis on the power unit being 50% ICE and 50% battery, like, it is half of the power delivered to the car and how it operates. If you're going to have that, you can't withhold that data to us as viewers. You just can't. We need it. Some, obviously, people will still just like the racing casuals, which is fine. You can get as deep into the sport as you want. I've always said this. There's no right or wrong way to watch the sport. But I think even for people that are, like, who want to get just a little bit more into the sport and a little more understanding of it, should be made aware of the battery levels and why certain overtakes have happened and why drivers have been able to, like, regain a position instantly in the next corner. Because we'd gain more of an understanding of it. I suggest a simple rule. If the race has less than 5 laps to go, then there's a red flag and standing restart in cases like this with yellow flag safety car. They may make an amendment like that. They may do. They may do. If there is an incident that requires a safety car in the last 5 laps, then they may say, look, we're going to throw a red flag. That's a fair point. It's a fair question. 5 laps is a sufficient amount of racing, you'd suggest, wouldn't you, to get the race underway again and people not to lose their absolute, like, rag under the helmet. Of course, everyone would always see it as an opportunity. But yeah, they still haven't explained, though. But look, the rule apparently since 2022, the safety car does not have to wait until the following lap to come in. Once the last instructed lap car has passed the leader and the safety car, and it is considered safe to do so, the safety car can return to the pits at the end of the same lap. So the FIA need to make sense and explain why they deemed it not to be safe to get racing with 1 lap remaining. Because the track was clear, the lap cars were already more than halfway around the lap by the time we approached the safety car coming into the pits. And so Was it a race control F-up? Did the race director misinterpret the rules again? Oh, did the race director of the FIA misinterpret? Was Michael Massey back in the race director's box again this weekend? Was he in the race director's seat and he's trying to right a wrong from 5 years ago? I bet you that's what it is. Michael Massey returns to right the wrong of 2021. But what he's done is actually do it wrong again. He didn't check the rules sheet again after 2021 on his return. Oh, hang on. They're just interviewing Toto Wolff, and they've just read it out, and apparently the rule is still the same as it was in 2021. So apparently it is they didn't do anything wrong. It was a software issue. Apparently they're saying it's a software issue as to why the safety car was stated to come in. So if that is the rule, then they've done it correctly. They've righted a wrong with the software issue, and it was correct. That's what's just been read off at Sky Sports. Yeah. Lies. They realised they would make a mistake again and went back on the decision. I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. I think a software... yeah. How much do you trust the FIA? I don't know. Don't know how much I can trust them. But apparently that's the rule. Can't do anything about it now then. Let's wait for Hamilton's fate. Yeah, look. You can't do anything about it now. It is what it is. Ultimately, to be honest with you, we shouldn't be sitting here. I personally don't think we should be sitting here complaining the FIA. We should be sitting there asking Ferrari why they decided to pit Lewis Hamilton there, knowing that they would have given up a position to George Russell. Why? Why are you doing that? Why? Now, yes, you can say, because they've given up track position. And I would always say, in that scenario, whenever you think the race is going to end under a safety car, if it's hit or miss, whether it's going to end up under a safety car or not, hold on to track position. Just hold on to it. Because it's just, you can look back and then go, okay, well, we should have pit. But what if it doesn't? Like, it hurts more. It hurts so much more. And I can guarantee this, like, if I was Lewis Hamilton right now, that hurts so much more knowing I've just given George Russell a free position rather than having an opportunity to fight for that position, even if I'm on medium tyres, older medium tyres in this scenario. Because, like, it's just, the rules have been followed, as they've said, and if there was time, like, okay, mate, it's a bit hit or miss whether we're going to have one lap of racing or not, I bet you Lewis probably would have said, no, look, if they said to them, look, we can pit, but there's a big risk of us giving the position to George, and we don't know if the race is going to get going again, I bet you Lewis says, let's hold on to position. I will fight tooth and nail. I will use a head at the apex rule in every single damn corner, and I'll run George off of every single damn corner I possibly can on that race restart to hold on to P2. He would do that. A driver would much rather have the opportunity to fight and hold on to their position, even if they're on much older tyres, rather than give the position up and then the race end under safety car, because you've just done all that hard work to get to that position and then you've just given a freebie away. That hurts, and that will hurt Lewis a lot, and I think any driver would do it. And I think from Ferrari's perspective, they're going to sit there and go, oh, we balls that up. We balls that up massively. Because they expected the race director to make a good call and let the race resume without unlapping. But, as per the rules, as we've just heard, we've got confirmation and now via Sky Sports, that is not the rules. Like, if they did that, they would have been breaking the rules. So they had to assess whether or not, okay, looking at it with how many lap... I'm sitting here, I'm not even paid to be a strategist. I'm trying to look at everything. You guys, of course, they're looking at everything as well, but there's very well paid people on that pit wall going, there's like half the field here that's lapped. And we've got... And you look at the footage and you can see that Max's car is in the gravel, where it was positioned, where a vehicle is going to have to get to. That's going to take a while. With 4 laps remaining, 5 laps remaining, that's going to take a bit of time for his car to get removed, for it to be safe anyway, for them also to unlap themselves at a long track circuit here. So it's going to take them a while to rejoin the back, and then we have to do that extra lap once they've allowed the cars to unlap themselves before the race gets restarted. Like, that's going to be so tight. It's going to be... Like, the question always was whether we're going to get 1 lap of racing or not. If it's 1 lap of racing or not, you leave him out there in P2. You don't pit him if you think you're going to lose a position. Because then... But if this happens, then you've easily given it away. So, massive mistake by Ferrari. We shouldn't be having a look at... we shouldn't be having a look really so much at the FIA, as Hamilton is being asked about that decision now. And he says it's all a bit of a blur. Doesn't really have much to say. So that's basically Lewis is pissed. Let's be real. He's pissed. And I would be too. So this is the regulation, by the way. I'm bringing this in. So this is the regulation. You can see here. I'm going to move that. And we can bring this in here. This is the regulation. It says here, B5.13.5. Unless the race director considers the presence of the safety car remains necessary, once the message lap cars may now overtake has been sent to all competitors in accordance with Article B5.13.4c, the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. That is the rule that has been followed. So, either someone has thrown the safety car in this lap incorrectly, or it is a safety car, or it is a software error, like they said. I reckon someone's pressed the button too early, to be honest with you. And they've gone, no, what are you doing? Do you not remember the rules? And corrected themselves. That's what's happened. So that's the rule. So the FIA followed the rules accordingly, didn't they? In the end. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to put you guys up there, and I'm going to make myself a bit larger. Lewis says he doesn't have an answer yet about why his race was not as... Oh, Lewis Hamilton. He said, I don't have an answer yet of whether I'm going to get a penalty or not. He goes, I'll probably get a penalty. Oh, that's some cynicism there from Lewis Hamilton, expecting a penalty because of who he is. Could it be that Leclerc was in the lead for the whole race and Lewis had a potential penalty for the reason to pit Lewis at the last 4 laps? No, Lewis... no, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. But Lewis is pissed, as you could hear there if anyone was watching the TV coverage. Did Russell have no tyres left? I mean, can't Russell also pit and then has an advantage over Lewis if there is a final one lap? Yes, he did, but then Mercedes took the gamble that why will we pit? Because we will lose track position. So we will just stay. Plus also, they had the insight. George was far enough back. Mercedes were far enough back to see Lewis pit and for them to go, oh, if we just stay out, we're going to gain a free position here. Why will we pit? Yes, George may end up losing the position because the race gets restarted, but we've got nothing to lose. He's either going to finish second or he's going to probably finish third. So they had nothing to lose. They took the gamble of staying out, and they got it. They got an extra free position out of it. The infringement was for lap 38 as he passed Hulkenberg's car at T9. But what did he do? Hang on. Hamilton could have been second. He could have been second in the championship. Yeah, but look, the championship is still on. It's very, very, very close now compared to. Well, I say very, very close. It's not very, very close. It's still over a race win difference, isn't there, between Hamilton and Anthony? But the top three are within now. Within 32 points. Hamilton 32 points behind Antonelli, and Russell is 25 points behind now. So I'm watching the safety car infringements with George Russell. They're analysing it now on Sky Sports. Hang on. No, Lewis won't get penalised for that. Lewis won't get penalised for that. So just watching the yellow flag infringement for Lewis Hamilton. What happened is that as he approaches Copse Corner, there's a blue flag on the left-hand side on the panel. He's racing Max Verstappen at the moment. He's just overtaken him. He's behind. He is heading into Copse Corner. Blue flag on the left-hand side. As he goes around Copse Corner, Hulkenberg is on his inside. He's just pulled over. There is no yellow flag until Lewis Hamilton gets... Oh, hang on. Hang on. How will they see that? I don't think he should get a penalty for this. So yeah, so they're just finishing analysing it. So basically, gets past Nico Hulkenberg. There's still no yellow flag. There's no panels around him at the time they get to Nico Hulkenberg or even past Nico Hulkenberg. So Lewis gets past the incident. Considerably past the incident, and then yellow flags come up on his dash. He doesn't lift, but he's way past the incident. And that's why he's being investigated for it. Common sense should be that's not an infringement because the whole reason is that for yellow flags is that there's an incident, like he's past the incident, so it should be deemed that he's okay. But if you want to be very, very cynical and literal, he has kept his foot in a yellow flag zone, even though he's past the incident, and he could be penalised for it. This is where really there should be common sense. I'd be saying this if this was also for another driver. Like, you need to have some common sense sometimes when it comes to the rules, but that's why he's been investigated for it. Anthony Davidson does a great job. Yeah, he digs into the detail, and he's proper. He's proper, Anthony Davidson. Oh, where's my charger? Oh, I'm grabbing the wrong wire, honestly. Go. So yeah, common sense should say that he shouldn't get a penalty for it, but you never know with the FIA, and it depends, I guess, because we don't get a set, consistent stewards. As always, the stewards are always varying, race weekend to race weekend. Their interpretation of the rules are different. So one weekend, someone will see it as being like, yeah, I see common sense there, that's absolutely fine. And another weekend, someone will go, no, I'm going to give a penalty for that. Racing out of 10 before the stream ends. I'm going to give it... I'm actually going to give Silverstone I'm going to give it 5 out of 10. I don't think it was lower than a 5 because we did see overtakes. We did see battles. Antonelli was catching. I know it ended under safety car. We had drama with reliability issues. I don't think I can give it a higher than a 5 out of 10 because, yes, there was obviously not as much like proper wheel-to-wheel racing as we should have seen. Maybe a 5.5, maybe pushing a 6 because of the drama. But yeah, mostly I think middle of the road 5. One of the weakest Silverstone races that I've seen in a long time, probably in the last decade. So it doesn't bode well, of course, for these regulations moving forward. But moving forward, the regulations are going to be tweaked somewhat, aren't they? So yeah, for that, hopefully next time we come to Silverstone next year, we'll get even more true racing. To be fair, Lewis started third, and with his pace, he might not be keeping it. Kimi retired, and him maintaining third is a very good result, as long as he doesn't get a penalty. Yeah. I guess, obviously, it hurts, though, at the end of the race, doesn't it? When you have got into P2, and then your team have just given that away. Like, it wasn't Lewis's decision to pit. He trusts the team. And then he comes out, and he sees he's behind George. And then to end on the safety car, not have an opportunity to do that. Like, there was always that risk. Like, why would you take that risk? Stay out. Just hope it ends under a safety car, and then if it has one lap left of racing, then you've got an opportunity to defend. At least Lewis can try his best. You can say, oh, he should have pit or not, but always hold on to track position when you think the safety car may finish, when the race may finish under a safety car. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. Okay, you deal with it. But you don't give away free positions. And that's what Ferrari have done. It's criminal. It's criminal to do that. The shambles of a finish undid all the decent moments we had. Yeah. I mean, look, maybe there needs to be another assessment of the rules, as we said, on this last point, as little one's starting to cry. She's upset that her dinner's been taken away. You've eaten it all. You've eaten all your food. Is it yummy? Yummy, wasn't it? Yeah. Why you're crying, you want more. But that's the reason why... sorry, going back to the rules. There might be an amendment to it. It may be an amendment, like if there's 5 laps remaining and there needs to be a safety car, yes, it's a red flag. Or they reassess that if there is half a lap of... If there is a certain distance, like time distance, between the lap cars unlapping themselves, getting back onto the same lap, and then the safety cars, and everyone's bunched up and it's good to go again, they get going again. So because there was sufficient amount of time, a time gap between the last car unlapping themselves and like the safety car, really. But there we go, for it to be safe, in my opinion. But yeah, they followed the rules as they should have done. But maybe those rules do need to be assessed on a more on a different basis, and maybe there'll be amendments to it in the future. Lewis, after meeting with the stewards, all the magic that I had on Friday disappeared. I might get a penalty too. I went for a yellow flag. I didn't see it. Yeah, but we just discussed that, but they analysed it, but it was at the end of the yellow flag. And he was way past the incident by then anyway. I think he'll get away with it. But there. They think people tend to watch that nonsense. It's crazy. So many years they don't have a clear proactive approach to better handling race finishes under these circumstances. That's very disappointing. Well, we know that finishing a race under a safety car is controversial, whether it does or doesn't, right? But anywho, guys, that is it from me. Ooh. I'll come give you a hug in a second. That is it from me. Little one is starting to get a bit restless, and spend some time with her before it's bedtime. But yes, thank everyone for tuning in. Overall, positive stream again. Whoa, the championship is on, isn't it? It's on. Absolutely on. I mean, people were talking about whether Antonelli was going to comfortably breeze this championship. And, well, who would have thought that his steering wheel, of all things, would fail? But it just shows that Mercedes have made a quick car. But sometimes, just because you made the quickest car, you sacrifice some reliability. And I think that's definitely what Mercedes have done this year. Whereas Ferrari... they're building up to that pace. They've built reliability into their car. And yes, Charles Leclerc has had one reliability issue on his side of the garage. I think it was in Barcelona. But they've been pretty good in finishing races. And yeah, Antonelli and Russell, I mean, this could be the defining factor throughout this season, or theme throughout this season. We head to Spa in a couple of weeks' time. The gap is currently 25 points between Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. That is one race win difference. One DNF for Antonelli, and George Russell winning a race. And he will be on level points with him. Lewis Hamilton, 32 points. It could have been more. It could have been less than 30 points, 29 points, if Hamilton finished P2 and Ferrari didn't pit him under the safety car. But alas, they did. And he is 32 points now behind Kimi Antonelli. Charles Leclerc, 25 points. The first time he's got 25 points this season. He's on 108 points, and he is 71 points behind Kimi Antonelli. Still a long way to go for Charles Leclerc. Could it be a turning point in his season? Potentially. It's a very long way still to go, and a lot of racing still to be had. So yes, thank you for tuning in, guys. Much appreciated. Hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Over 2,700 likes, and I think we've got over 1,000 subs there. So yes, we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Remember, hit the notification button, because I will be putting out my Silverstone vlog this week. It may be towards the end of the week, because I've got a lot of work to catch up on in my day job. And I've got a lot of footage to go through. So my Silverstone vlog is incoming. I am at Goodwood Festival of Speed on Thursday, guys. So if you are going Goodwood Festival of Speed Thursday and you see me, please come over and say hello. I don't bite. I will have a backpack on that has the YouTube logo on. So if you are looking out for me. So yeah, I'm taking my mum there for her birthday. I'll be vlogging that as well, my experience. I may make my mum cameraman. She doesn't know that yet, so but yeah, we'll be going there, so I'll vlog that. So there is some more content, real life content actually, coming your way in the next couple of weeks. And then of course, before we know it, it'll be race week again for Spa, for our double header of Spa and Hungary, before we then head into our summer break. So yes, thank you guys. Yeah, the question is now, do I go for a little nap to stay up for the race? Race? What am I saying? Race? We just had the race, the Mexico-England game. We'll see. But yeah, come on England, come on you Irons, come on you Lions, not Irons. That's West Ham. I'm delirious. I'm just ending that 4-hour stream. I know. But yeah, thanks guys. Not the greatest British Grand Prix, but still a great circuit. I had a great weekend. I hope you guys did too, tuning in, and we will see you next time around. Thanks guys. Bye.